Rosemary's Baby is one of the most influential horror films of all time, and its legacy is still felt not only in remakes and new adaptations. This masterpiece of suspense and tension is a timeless classic that deserves annual rewatches. Let's break down Rosemary's Baby.
What's up, movie friends? Welcome back to Raiders of the Lost Podcast, the ultimate film and TV podcast. And today we're going to talk about one of the ultimate horror films of all time, Rosemary's Baby, from director Roman Polanski. A masterful display of storytelling, of craftsmanship, wardrobe design, production design, cinematography, directing, and acting. All of these elements are at the highest level possible for any kind of film, let alone a horror film. And on top of that, it's a very tight script, and this is a movie that has an extremely high rewatch value. This is one of my most watches as a film lover since I was in my teens. It's because the movie is so well crafted and the screenplay is so perfect that when you watch it over and over again, you're rewarded because nothing is really plainly said in this movie. Nothing is explained explicitly in this movie. This movie relies on clues and small hints the entire runtime. And so when you watch it again, you can look at the clues and you can be like, oh, I never spotted that one, or oh my God, that makes total sense. So Rosemary's Baby on a rewatch is so valuable. That's why it's really stood the test of time.
And even though you're in the perspective of Rosemary the whole film, and you're watching her experience isolation, being gaslit by her friends, her family, her doctors, her neighbors, and being manipulated, you still don't fully know if she's right or wrong until the last really 15, 20 minutes of the movie. And Rosemary's Baby is such a brilliant display of how to build suspense, how to build that tension and draw it out brilliantly until your finale for a horror film. You know, it's tough to do. And I think a lot of filmmakers today and contemporary could, do themselves a little justice by going back and revisiting movies like this to understand how to really draw that suspense and tension, because that's one of the reasons why this movie is a classic. That third act is so bonkers. It's so out of this world, literally. Mm-hmm. And it's terrifying and tremendous because it's built up so well. And, by the time Rosemary's actually figuring everything out after her birth, and she starts to uncover the truth behind all the suspicions she's had, you are just mouth on the floor, edge of your seat, in shock of what you're seeing and how ludicrous and ridiculous, but how terrifying and real it is.
That's a great point that when you're watching this movie, especially for the first time, you're not sure, is this all in Rosemary's head? Is this really happening? And the reason why that works so well is because even though this is a supernatural film, and even though this is a horror fantasy, the way it's filmed and the way it's written and the way it's performed is as close to realism as possible, where all of the supernatural stuff generally happens in dream sequences and as an audience member in your first watch, you're like, is this in her dreams or is this really happening? Did she really get drugged or is she going through some mental crisis? And they were so wise to make sure anything fantastical you saw was in her mind. And so when you watch this movie for the first time, you could absolutely assume this was all just a conspiracy made up in her mind until the finale, really. And that's really, so many modern horror filmmakers, they show so much. They show too much of the elements of supernatural, of fantasy, where there's no mystery left to the audience. There's really two films that have captured what Polanski did with Rosemary's Baby in modern times, and that's Get Out from Jordan Peele and Hereditary with Ari Aster, where both of those films, for the first hour and a half until shit hits the fan, it could still be just in the characters' minds. You know what I mean? We're not really confirmed anything is true until the big reveals of those films happen. And then we have that incredible final 15 minutes of both of those movies. They both followed really closely what made Polanski's film so special, and it's that mystery and that's that uncertainty of the audience.
Yeah, the timeline and blueprint of both those films are spot on. And Hereditary itself is technically just a more contemporary style of this film, or a version of this film, obviously heavily influenced by Rosemary's Baby when Ari Aster made that movie. Clearly, whether it's the nude people in the distance or
that's just A24 movies, bro.
The Antichrist. I saw this great meme where someone said, yeah, I'm a fan of A24. So I'm really weird and strange. Yeah, that's why. Rosemary's Baby is just astonishing. Just a quick synopsis. Rosemary Woodhouse and her struggling actor husband, Guy, moved to a New York City apartment building with an ominous reputation and odd neighbors. Roman and Minnie Cassavetes. When Rosemary becomes pregnant, she becomes increasingly isolated, and the diabolical truth is revealed only after Rosemary gives birth and soon discovers that her offspring is not of this world. This movie, I think, its greatest strength, besides the directing, is its acting. Mia Farrow is absolutely terrific in this movie as Rosemary. John Cassavetes is sensational, very charming in this movie. But then we have, really, I think, the best performance is Ruth Gordon as Minnie Cassavetes, who won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress in this film. And then Roman Cassavetes, played by Sidney Blackmere. These two actors brought so much charisma, charm, and mystery to this film. Mm-hmm. You can't help but love and hate them at the same time. Like you do a lot of obnoxious people. Maybe it's like an obnoxious aunt that Minnie reminds you of, or an uncle that you're sick of hearing his stories, who Roman reminds you of, and you just, you put up with them, and it is what it is. But people like this. Their normalcy is really what sells their performance so well in their characters, because they're always just putting on a show at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's the reason why this movie works so well, because this movie is not played straight. If this movie had been made with a very serious tone, everything about it would be different, especially Minnie and Roman, and especially the ending. The final reveal, first of all, is, I think you agree with me, one of the greatest finales of a movie ever.
Absolutely. And
it's really all-time, like top 10 final scenes in a movie. It's just absolutely brilliant. But the way that Polanski directed this film, it's kind of cringe and tongue-in-cheek in its approach. And it's not super serious because it shows the absurdity and how insane what's happening is. And so he captivated that in the actual filmmaking. There's this tongue-in-cheek tone throughout the entire course of the film, and it really comes down to Roman and Minnie. And like you said, the characters work so well because of the actors and their brilliant performances, the costume design, and the makeup. There's a reason why all of the people in the coven dress with very flamboyant, colorful outfits. They're very annoying. They're very self-centered, but because they seem harmless. Minnie, she seems just like a very intrusive, nosy neighbor who wants to be like a surrogate mom and an aunt, kind of. And she's silly. The older characters in this movie are very silly. They're like, you can laugh at them, and Guy and Mia laugh at them all the time. They make jokes about them, and because they're annoying as well, so that makes it feel like they're harmless. They're just annoying old crazy people that won't leave us alone. It's a perfect cover for how dark and disturbed these human beings are and how truly evil they are. They put up this cover in this front of colorful outfits and ridiculous behaviors, and it perfectly masks who they really are, and it allows Mia to be fooled by them.
Yeah, Rosemary, she doesn't like
Rosemary.
them. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah,
she doesn't like them, but it's great. All the characters, especially with Rosemary, she goes back and forth of being annoyed by them, accepting them, being annoyed by them, accepting them, thinking there's a plot against her, to then, everything's going to be fine and hunky-dory. By the time we're swinging from second to third act, she's, everything's cool. I'm healthy again. My pregnancy's going well, and I can't wait to give birth, and everyone's trying to help me, and that's fine. We sort of have this odd family in this apartment because this apartment building is very specific to this group, this cult, this coven of witches. And what I like about this coven of witches is it's not sort of what witches usually are in horror movies, just a bunch of woman witches, but I think it's a great blend of all kinds of people are witches. We have someone from a different country as a part of this witch coven, husbands and wives and couples, or it seems like a lot of couples are part of this witch.
They're not wearing robes.
Yeah, they're just dressed normally.
Although there is one black cat at the end, sitting on a woman's lap.
Yeah,
they got the black cat in there.
Gotta have a black cat. But I like this coven of witches because it seems more realistic to what this would be like in real life versus, obviously, you have your specific seances and rituals, like when they're all naked we obviously know what scene we'll talk about later on. So, and they have different wardrobes for, I guess, whatever member you are. But I like how normal they all seem to be. And also, if you pick up on their professions, one of them is a lawyer, the woman who passed away in Rosemary and Guy's first apartment.
Gardier.
She was the first female lawyer in New York City. Roman and Minnie, you can assume they obviously have a lot of wealth and they're very traveled. So you can assume that everyone who's a part of this coven has not a nefarious job, but a job that can be associated with being a bad person. Not all lawyers are bad, but some are. Some people defend terrible people as lawyers and make a lot of money. There's a lot of movies about these kinds of defense attorneys. The Devil's Advocate's a great example of how coaxing into the dark side, you could say, or to sinister behaviors and vices that being a lawyer can be. But also, I think that all these people I assume all have different walks of life that connect them to the worst parts of humanity.
There's a great line that you just reminded me of. Roman says, "Anywhere, name a place, I've been there."
I've been there. Name a place, I've been there.
That's a great hint and a clue to who he is. He has probably his entire life traveled the world in search for answers about how to bring about the Antichrist. That when I watch this movie, that's how I look at Roman's character. That's why he's so well traveled, and that's why he really has been everywhere. He's looked in every corner of the world for like 50 years to try to find a way to bring the Antichrist into fruition. And so that's there's so many little nuggets of information like that. It's just a one-off line. On your first watch, it just seems like an innocent thing, like a funny character thing.
Yeah, like an annoying relative.
Exactly.
You name a place, I've been there.
But it actually says so much about who he is. And that's those little tiny details in this film combined with the absolute precise camera work with the blocking, the cinematography, the framing, and the lensing used in this film. We get a lot of incredibly controlled, confined two shots and wonders. There's a lot of long takes in this movie that really bring about the realism and really immerse you into what's happening. And then Polanski and his DP contrast that with a lot of handheld camera work that really puts you on edge, puts you into the chaos of Rosemary's mind. And there's a lot of like intrinsically like improvisational camera work when it's handheld. Like when Rosemary later in the film at the end of the second act, she's panicking, she doesn't know who to trust, and she's like wandering through the city and it's all handheld. They actually like walked in front of real traffic 3 times at a green light, and there's cars stopping, slamming on their brakes, honking at them. That was really Polanski with the camera and Mia Farrow walking as the character through the crosswalk. That was all filmed without permits. They were just doing it on the fly to capture that chaotic moment in her mind. So the filmmaking has incredible elements of control and chaos that they use to put us into Rosemary's perspective.
And in that scene, you can actually, just to stay on it, you can see pedestrians looking in camera from a distance because they're like, wait, why is there a camera crew right there? But it adds to the chaos, like you said, of Rosemary's situation right now. You know, this is right after Hutch's disappearance, basically, or going into coma. And also Roman Polanski, Mia Farrow was at first afraid to walk into traffic like that, not on a crosswalk during green light. But Polanski said, even though you have a fake belly, no one's going to hit a pregnant woman. You're going to be fine. So that obviously motivated her to go in. But it also connects to Roman Polanski's film he made before this. He made Repulsion, which got him on the radar for this movie with the producers. And Repulsion was a movie he made in England. Lots of great handheld camera work, wandering streets. So there's a lot of similarities. If you've ever seen Repulsion, I recommend watching that because it's very connected, I think, in a lot of ways to Rosemary's Baby, but not just the filmmaking, these narrow, long hallways and following this woman, but also different elements of the subtext of this movie. It's not just about the Antichrist. It's not just about bringing Satan to earth. It's also got a lot of underlying tones of anti-feminism or feminism, you could say, or oppression of women and all kinds of things like that, which we'll get into in a little bit. But that's all on the undertones and subtext of this movie, just like in Repulsion.
Yeah, there's a lot of social commentary on this film, and it does a really great job with multiple elements of subtext. And in terms of the filmmaking adding on to that, the thing is, with so many horror films nowadays, a lot of times the best parts are dreams. You know what I mean? It's like something crazy happens and the character wakes up, and it was all just a nightmare. And honestly, that gets to be really repetitive, especially nowadays. And it makes you feel like cheated because like the best moments were just meaningless dreams. That's what I'm beginning to take away from. It's not every horror film, obviously, but a lot of movies in contemporary times rely on that. Crazy thing happens, the character wakes up. And so it means it was just pointless, added nothing to their narrative, just something cool to scare the audience and shock them. But what they do in this film is you don't know if the dreams are real or not. It's not like Rosemary wakes up and it was like, oh, it was just a dream. When you're watching this, you're like, did that really happen? Wait, did this really happen?
I'm not dreaming. This is really happening.
Exactly. And so he blends the lines between reality and fantasy so perfectly in this film, where when you're watching this movie, near the end of the second act, when shit's about to happen, you're like, okay, all these crazy sequences, we've seen a couple of crazy dream sequences. Are those just dreams, or did those things really happen? Whereas in so many modern horror movies, you're like, okay, that didn't really happen. They're just dreaming crazy stuff. And so this movie really is the best that's ever been done with the surrealist, abstract horror fantasy storytelling.
Lots of synonyms there. Adjectives, adjectives off the chain. Let's talk about the developments of Rosemary's Baby. This is based off a novel of the same name written by Ira who also wrote The Stepford Wives and The Boys from Brazil and Silver. All of those films have become adaptations of his work. He has a few other books that he wrote that did not become adapted for screen, but some of them also became adapted for TV. And Ira great mind. Stepford Wives is something that was huge back in the day as well in the 70s and 80s. And I'm sure, we've had films that are similar to this. Kate played,
Olivia Wilde?
No, not Olivia Wilde. Wasn't Kate in one of these movies about the Stepford Wives or similar to the Stepford Wives?
Nicole Kidman was in the new adaptation of it.
That's what it was. Nicole Kidman in like the 2000s was in a Stepford Wives film. Still relevant to this day. And obviously, like Anthony said, Olivia Wilde's film was just so similar to that in a lot of ways. Pretty similar. And The Matrix. But Ira he wrote this book, and then obviously the movie came up, but then he accidentally felt guilty. He felt guilty for the sort of accidental influence of Satanism that he's kind of brought into the world in a lot of ways, into contemporary modern culture. He said, to quote him, "I feel guilty. Rosemary's Baby led to The Exorcist, The Omen. A whole generation has been exposed, has more belief in Satan. I don't believe in Satan, and I feel that the strong fundamentalism we would not be as strong if there hadn't been so many of these books. Of course, I didn't send back any of the royalty checks." So I think he's got a point that, global entertainment was booming in the 60s and 70s. Of course, movies were booming. TV was getting really popular. And the influence of media on people was bigger than ever. And I understand that he probably was part of this early push for this occult craving, these interesting stories about Satanism or about dark things, about the Antichrist. It did have a boom, horror especially. So I can understand that he sort of has that sentiment. But again, he didn't send back the royalty checks.
Also, the Satanism was rising in popular culture, not just from Rosemary's Baby, but there were songs, there were musicians, albums. Season of the Witch was one of the biggest hits of like the 60s, and that was about witchcraft. And then even the Beatles had a satanic cultural figure in the album cover of Sgt. Pepper's. He's standing in the back. So Satanism was rising, but I think it's great. It's a really great story because it's also translating metaphorically the 60s and how the 60s resulted in really the decline of religion, the death of God, and anti-conformity, and also the decline of society's morals, which have gone even further nowadays. If you look at it compared to the 60s, it's just they were barely doing anything compared to what's happening now in society and the morality in the moral gray area of society's values. And so I look at this film as like a deconstruction of society's morals, which were pretty solid in the 50s, in the decline of that into the 60s and 70s, and the cultural revolution of freedom, of breaking away from conformity, breaking away from traditional values, and finding independence, even if that means a moral decay in a culture. And so this film is a great representation of that, how the death of God brought about the rise of something like Satanism in obviously tiny subset, hugely small percentage of the population, but still it did bring about that rise in the 60s and 70s.
There's intrigue about it, but also people are afraid of it. And Rosemary's Baby is a Paramount picture produced by the executive at the time, Robert Evans, and he was brought the galley proofs of the book by William Castle and asked to purchase the rights to the film for the film rights before Random House published the book in April 1967. So oftentimes before books get published, we talked about this in our Mickey 17 breakdown, the film rights will be purchased and they'll get a copy or a version of the book before it's officially done. And Evans understood there was a lot of potential, commercial potential especially, with this project, and agreed with the stipulation that Castle, who had a reputation for low-budget horror films, could produce but not direct the film adaptation, because Robert Evans, probably wisely when you look back on it, didn't think that Castle could probably do the film's justice. But Castle made a cameo in the film. He has an appearance as the man at the phone booth waiting for Rosemary to finish up her phone
call.
With
a cigar?
Yeah, as she's just telling and confessing to Dr. Hill that there's a plot against her. There are plots against people. They exist.
I suppose.
And then we see someone who's listening onto her conversation, probably.
What a great shot.
Someone in the coven. So that was actually Castle. Now, apparently, Alfred Hitchcock was offered the chance to direct Rosemary's Baby, but he declined. And then Evans brought up Polanski, who he admired from his European films, hoped he can convince him to make this American debut with Rosemary's Baby. And so he had a pretty good plan. The way that Evans got Roman Polanski to make Rosemary's Baby, he knew that Polanski was a ski buff who was anxious to make a film about skiing in the sport in general as its basis. So he sent him a script for Downhill Racer, along with the galleys for Rosemary's Baby. Polanski read the book nonstop through the night and called Evans the following morning to tell him he thought Rosemary's Baby was the more interesting project and would like the opportunity to write and direct as well. After negotiations, Paramount agreed to hire Roman Polanski for the project with a tentative budget of $1.9 million, $150,000 of which would go to Polanski. The movie ended up going about $400,000, $500,000 over budget because Polanski was such a detail-oriented director. And Polanski completed the 272-page screenplay for the film in approximately 3 weeks, and he closely modeled it to the original as the original book as much as possible. People have called it one of the most accurate book-to-film adaptations of all time. His original cut was actually 4 hours. He didn't really know what to cut from the movie, so he had other editors come in and step in and decide what to remove from the film.
Oh, I would love to see a longer cut of this because it's just so good, the filmmaking.
Yeah.
And I've never read the book, but now I'm very interested in reading the book. And he's a very detail-oriented director. A lot of people maybe wouldn't view him as a horror director, like right off the bat, but Repulsion, this film, The Tenant, absolutely a horror director that broke out into other genres after.
Yeah, and I mean, suspense is really his bread and butter. He might be the most close director to Alfred Hitchcock that there is. I mean, him and Fincher are very similar to Alfred Hitchcock's style, their style of building suspense. But I think Polanski, and especially I think Rosemary's Baby, is very much a Hitchcockian film, especially with the way we open up with the shots of the skyline of a city leading up to this film with slow suspense built. And
I would say the only difference is Hitchcock always went for a huge spectacle set piece, at least once in his films.
Yeah.
And Polanski never did. So you're right, they're the same, but Hitchcock always wanted a huge spectacle.
Yeah, and even a lot of Polanski's contemporary films are still really excellent. I mean, he's made a Best Picture winning film, obviously, with The Pianist. And then even one of my favorite horror mystery films in general is The Ninth Gate, starring Johnny Depp, which is just an incredible film. Obviously, similar themes here with the Antichrist and heaven and hell, which always been one of my favorite genres. I've always been drawn to stories of heaven and hell. I think it's always an interesting sort of foundation for a story. And it sort of has faded away in a lot of movies in Hollywood outside of church being evil in a lot of contemporary films. It's been, I think, 8 this year.
It's funny. It's turned into the church is evil and it's no longer about the devil.
Like, devil's good, church is bad. Like,
it's weird.
It's been pretty odd the last 10 years in movies. Obviously, we're just hyperbolic here. But I think that heaven and hell is always a great option for storytelling because it's one of the oldest ways to tell stories and one of the oldest bases of narratives we've had as human beings and as culture.
The Ghost Rider is great too.
Ghost Rider is excellent.
Rider is fantastic.
Great ending, great third act. Like that one knocked my hair back, man.
Yeah, it knocked your socks off. It's a great movie. I just think that this is also just in the horror genre. It's one of the best directed, and it deserves all the acclaim it's ever gotten. I'm not a fan of remaking classics or doing prequels to classics. Like I don't want to watch a prequel to The Shining. I don't want to watch a prequel to Rosemary's Baby because it's in a way like this is just an incredible piece of art in what filmmaking is, and so doing a prequel I think is honestly basically saying, oh, we can do something and add more to it where it's already perfect as it is, if that makes sense. Like with The Shining, obviously there's a sequel, but Stephen King wrote a sequel. He continued his story. So then Dr. Sleep, I watched it and I loved it. And it was really cool to see the writer of the story to continue the story. But to just do a random prequel, I'm not a fan of. So
it's not the first time it's happened, you know.
Yeah.
Rosemary's Baby has had several attempts at remakes and prequels. A remake was briefly considered in 2008 with Michael Bay going to produce the film. Fortunately, that fell through. In 2014, there was an NBC 4-hour Rosemary's Baby miniseries that came out. We all remember with Zoe Saldana starring as Rosemary. The miniseries was filmed in Paris under the direction of Agnieszka Holland. It was okay. It really didn't add much to it, just more of a contemporary setting. And I thought the characters overall were just less interesting. They were less creative. In 2016, the film was unofficially remade in Turkey under the title Alamet-i Kıyamet. Then the short Her Only Living Son from 2017's horror anthology film XX serves as an unofficial sequel to the story. And then obviously the prequel was created, coming out very soon, Apartment 7A. This takes place a year prior to the events of Rosemary's Baby and expands on Terry Ginofrio, a minor character in the original film, which we'll get to in a little bit. But there was actually a TV movie sequel made to Rosemary's Baby, which came out in 1976 called Look What's Happened to Rosemary's Baby. It was made for television horror film in America. It served as a direct sequel to the film from 1968, second installment of the franchise, and it actually brought Ruth Gordon back as Minnie. No one else came or returned. It stars Stephen McHattie as the Antichrist, as Adrian grown up as an adult, and continues the storyline of this coven of witches. Premiered as the ABC Friday night movie on October 29th, 1976.
Look what's happened to Rosemary's Baby.
It's a real movie. I watched the trailer. It's certainly a film.
Oh my God.
It's certainly a film.
Well, I mean, what makes the film so powerful and the ending so powerful is it leaves so much up to your imagination. So first two things, it's like, what does the baby look like? They don't show the baby, which is brilliant, because then that's what makes it scarier. If we saw the baby, I think it would be really messed up, but then it would just like take away a lot of the power of it. So not revealing what the baby looks like, it makes the audience use their imagination, thinking about the image of the father, and then we get that great insert close-up. It's a really couple of frames in Rosemary's mind of the eyes of the devil. And so in our mind, we're putting the pieces together of what the baby will actually look like. And then the other woman says, look at his hands and his toes, the claws. So we're just like, oh my God, what does this thing look like? But then after that, Adrian, the son of the devil, is going to rise up. And based upon what Roman's talking about, like, he's going to burn everything and bring destruction in the name of the dead and the tortured and the damned. You're like, what the fuck is going to happen soon? Like, in 20 years, the world's going to be fucking thrown into chaos. And it's the mystery of that makes the ending so powerful. You're just like, what is going to happen once this baby grows up? Oh, my God.
Yeah, I feel like a TV movie that they made, I haven't seen it, but I'm assuming it's just a very poor representation of what would have happened.
Yeah.
If the actual son of the devil, Satan, actually had a son on Earth with a human woman, he would rise up to probably bring destruction everywhere versus just being a guy leading a cult doing evil things.
Yeah.
I think the power and the gravitas of what would really happen is not possible to capture in a TV film. And it probably shouldn't be captured at all because, like you said, the mystery is the best part of that. Mm-hmm. And Mia Farrow, just to go back on her, is just sensational in this film. She brings such a large range in this film, this intense naivety and innocence to Rosemary. And often I think there's a lot of criticism. Is Rosemary too naive? She's too gullible. She sort of gets taken advantage of so often. I think that the way I interpret Rosemary is she's just such an exceptionally good person, which is one of the reasons maybe why Satan chose her as the mother of his son. And also, again, this film has an underlying context of feminism. You know, this movie definitely touches on the oppression of women, women's rights, the exploitation of women in their bodies, reproductive rights. I mean, Minnie, Roman, Dr. Saperstein, Guy, they all assume these positions of control and power on her life. They decide what she eats. They decide what she drinks. They decide if she can go out. They decide what doctor she can see. Constantly, she's told what to do and what she can't do. The only time she really is able to open up freely without being shut down by her husband or someone else is when she throws a party where you have to be under 60 to attend. It's a special party. You have to be under 60 years old to get in. And she's able to break down in front of her friends who keep Guy out of the kitchen because Guy's constantly working for the Coven of Witches to do what they need from Rosemary. That's the only time she's able to express herself without being shut down.
I think that criticisms of characters like Rosemary are just a mistake in terms of an audience viewing a character. What's happening is, here's the thing. There are very strong people in the world and there are very weak people in the world. There are strong men and weak men, and there are strong women and weak women. The world is a spectrum. what happens with characters like this when they're criticized is the audience who are critical of it, they're putting what they want Rosemary to be onto the character. Like, they want her to fight back. They want her to be like, come on, you should not be drinking that. Come on, take off the necklace. Why aren't you being stronger? I think it's an authentic character to people who exist. And you have to accept the film for what it is. They're giving us a certain kind of a person in this characterization of Rosemary. That's the writer who made this. You have to accept that. And I think people who are critical of it, they're just putting what they want her to be onto the character rather than accepting who this character is, if that makes sense.
And we all trust those we love, and we don't expect the people we care about most, our spouses or our family, to be lying to us and gaslighting us about everything that we're bringing up and to hide things from us and mistreat us. We don't expect that. I mean, how can you live your life without trusting people? You'd be a neurotic mess constantly. And so from Rosemary's perspective, she has to believe that Guy has her best interests at heart. He's her husband. They're a family. They're trying to start a family. And so from her perspective, he's taking care of me. He wouldn't lie to me. I should, maybe I'll just do what he says until she can't take it anymore. It's not about just doing what he says, but it's accepting. It's about trust, I think, and love, where she loves and trusts him so much. That's what makes her naive to Guy. And she would never expect Guy to do a thing like this to her and just to use her up as bait for this crazy cult.
Yeah, I mean, she knows that Guy is pretty self-centered. He can be vain, but not vain enough to make a deal with the devil, which he does. Now, the thing with Rosemary's Baby, like I said earlier, there are so many little details and so many little nuggets and clues to the story. I think for this episode, it would be best to really go beat for beat and story action by story action throughout the narrative from start to finish and really break down everything in the scenes to really convey all of the things. Otherwise, we're going to miss things and forget about stuff. What do you think?
I think that's a really, really smart idea.
Is there some sarcasm in there?
I really like that plan.
Still sounds sarcastic.
I'm not being sarcastic at all. But before we do that, can we talk about the curse of Rosemary's Baby?
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, it seems like apparently every horror movie or crazy horror movie like this or The Exorcist, there's always a curse on it. And there's this legendary curse on Rosemary's Baby that's believed to be its creator's punishment for touching upon a subject that should never be brought up about the Antichrist. Whether it's true or not, these are facts and possibly lead to the curse of Rosemary's Baby. Now, William Castle, again, the guy who got the rights to the book, the film's producer, received many death threats from people who claimed that by making the film he brought evil on Earth. He died of a stroke at just 63 years old. Roman Polanski's wife and some of his friends were gruesomely killed by Charles Manson. We all know Sharon Tate and Charles Manson's cult in one of the most brutal and inexplicable murders of the 20th century, depicted, of course, recently in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, or revisionist history, of course, obviously. Doesn't happen in the movie. Mia Farrow got divorce papers from fake Sinatra on sets, which I'll talk about in a second. Well, basically what happened was Mia Farrow was cast in large part because she was married to Frank Sinatra. Now,
and it made her super famous.
And she was already, a well-known actress. She was in some movies here and there. But the producers wanted a different sort of what they called a full-figured woman for this role. Whereas Mia Farrow is very petite, very thin. And they were looking at Jane Fonda, Patty Duke, Goldie Hawn. They were all considered for the role. Sharon Tate, they wanted Sharon Tate, so didn't Roman Polanski, his fiance at the time, to play the role. But since the film wasn't bestseller yet, it didn't have that iconic status. Like, it's a number one selling book turning into a movie. The producers were unsure the title alone would guarantee an audience for the film. So they needed, they thought, a bigger name to sell Rosemary's Baby to a domestic audience. And so Mia Farrow, who had just a big supporting role a few years previous in 1964 with Gun Zapatazzi and the yet-released A Dandy and Aspic in 1968, which were her only feature film credits, had an unproven track record. However, she had grown to global fame and notice with a role as Allison Mackenzie in the TV series Paid in Place, plus her unexpected marriage to the internationally, globally famous first pop star ever, Frank Sinatra. And so, despite all that, in her maybe not looking the right part for what the producers wanted, they cast Mia Farrow mostly because she was married to Frank Sinatra, which brought a lot of fame and attention to the movie. And Sinatra was incensed by this because he wanted her to forego her career when they wed, similar to Grace Kelly, who was supposed to, after she married the Prince of Monaco, had to retire from acting, according to him, and what he wanted. And so she just became the Princess of Monaco after that. Now, Mia Farrow, despite this, continued working, continued acting, and during production, they had a tumultuous marriage because of this. During production one day, Frank Sinatra had a corporate lawyer serve Mia Farrow divorce papers on set in front of the full cast and crew of Rosemary's Baby.
Whoa.
Leading to their ultimate divorce.
Like he
later on.
served her?
Yeah, he served her.
Oh my God.
Actual papers.
Damn.
So I guess you could say that's
a metaphor
thing.
for her actual role.
I know. It's pretty messed up. It's really messed up. So yeah, Frank Sinatra served her papers on set.
Wow.
Via lawyer. Another bit of the production that you could call curse. Robert Evans, the head of production at Paramount Pictures, was strongly involved in producing the film, has survived 3 strokes, and was accused of murder. The accusation was almost ruined his career. The scary Gothic Dakota Building, which was used for outdoor shots of the building where the protagonist lived, has witnessed a murder by a fanatic. John Lennon was shot in the gate where Rosemary's Baby filmed its opening scene. Same building. Also, Christoph Komeda, who did the music for this film, he's credited as a different name. He's credited as Christopher Conrad, but that's Christoph Komeda. He died not long after the film came out. Let me pull it up. I just lost my place on my notes.
This cursed film.
On my notes, Christoph Komeda slipped off a cliff in Los Angeles. In mysterious circumstances, he fell into a coma, and died a few months later, awaking only once when Rosemary's Lullaby was played to him.
What? That's pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy. Yeah, Christoph Komeda. That's his credit for the film, though, is Christopher Komeda.
There's been no other, like, outside of this and Exorcist, other devil movies have never had really cursed productions.
Yeah, but also Exorcist had so many more things to it.
Exorcist had a ton of things going on with it.
Exorcist had like 50 crazy scenarios.
Yeah.
But, I mean, before we get into the film, I still have some more development and pre-production stuff.
Tell us about it, bro.
Guy was a role that was sought after by a lot of people, and the studio was considering, obviously, the top dogs. They wanted Robert Redford as their first choice for the role of Guy Woodhouse, but he turned it down. He would have been a great Woodhouse.
The studio he was signed to wouldn't let him. His studio had a picture deal with wouldn't let him do Rosemary.
Jack Nicholson was considered briefly before Roman Polanski suggested John Cassavetes, who he had met in London, and eventually Polanski hated working with John Cassavetes, ended up calling him a prick on set and hard to work with, basically because Cassavetes was big on improvisation and kind of changing things up, going with the feeling of a scene and dialogue, whereas Polanski, I guess you could compare him to Fincher, is a very demanding director in terms of what he wants. He knows what he wants. He has insane attention to detail. He wants things done a very specific way. At times, it was reported that he'd done up to 50 takes sometimes just on one shot to get it exactly right. And like I said, he went almost $500,000 over budget. And we're talking $1968. It's a good amount of cheddar cheese. It's a lot of money.
They made it back, though.
Yeah, they definitely did over time. But he hated working with John Cassavetes and vice versa. And then the film's secondary actors. Polanski drew sketches of what he imagined the characters would look like. I imagine his drawings of Minnie had all that flamboyant makeup all over her, which were then used by Paramount casting directors to match with potential actors in the role of Roman and Minnie Cassavetes. Polanski cast veteran stage film actors Sidney Blackmer and Ruth Gordon. And then veteran actor Ralph Bellamy was cast as Dr. Saperstein. And then our final really big character is Maurice Evans plays Hutch, who is a friend of Rosemary's. This film was shot, of course, in New York City. Principal photography took place and started on August 21st, 1967 in New York. The Dakota's building exteriors served as a location for the fictional Bramford. Levin, the author, modeled it on buildings like the Dakota, ironically. In the novel, Hutch even urges Rosemary and Guy to move into the Dakota instead of the Bramford. And then production in September moved to Los Angeles in 1967 to shoot the remaining scenes at the relocated Paramount Studios in Hollywood, where interior sets of the Brantford apartments had been constructed on sound stages. Some additional location shooting took place in Playa del Rey in October 1967. That's just the west side of Los Angeles. And Farrow recalled that the dream sequence in which her character is attending a dinner party on a yacht was filmed on a vessel near Santa Catalina Island.
Very cool. I love the building.
Catalina wine mixer, man.
Fucking Catalina wine mixer. The building is like a character in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I love how the film opens and ends with this overhead pan zoom of the building, and then it pan and zooms out at the end. It's a really great bookend for the film. It's brilliant.
It sure is.
All right, let's get into the actual film itself.
Oh, I love it. What I love about the opening of this film is obviously we have the Paramount logo and the Paramount title. Mm-hmm. Immediately when that comes on the screen, we have that eerie piano pluck. Ding.
Yeah.
It's really creepy.
With the lullaby.
The lullaby. So the lullaby is part of the original soundtrack composed by Christoph Komeda. Mia Farrow actually did the humming and the singing for Rosemary's Lullaby in the opening of the film and other tracks.
Oh my
of the
god,
movie.
that makes so much sense.
So it's actually Mia Farrow.
Oh, that's why there's like a great connective tissue to it, and like you feel it emotionally.
Yeah, that lullaby appears several times in the movie, but obviously most prominently in the opening, and then it happens a few times later on, like when her pregnancy starts to get healthier, and she thinks everything's okay.
The baby's actually alive.
Yeah, baby's alive. She's getting color back, and she's gaining weight. So multiple times in the film, but it's actually Mia Farrow doing the humming and singing.
It has this great pink font with this really curvy cursive font, and it really relates to femininity, childlike quality, and the girly. Like Rosemary's a very girly girl in the first act of the film. She's got like pigtails. She wears very colorful dresses, and she's a very, very feminine woman, which I think has a great transformation when she cuts her hair, when she becomes pale. She looks so sickly. She ends up looking like a sick child eventually by the second half of the film. And when she's got the short hair and she has like, in a way, it looked like the nightgowns looked like little child nightgowns. So in the second half of the film, she looks like a really sick child. In the opening act, she looks like a very girly woman. So they did a great job with her character transformation physically and her personality as well.
Well, this film, obviously, it's bookended.
Yeah.
It's bookended with the landscape and then overhead shot of the apartment building.
Yeah.
And then it ends with pulling up. But the opening shot, it's sort of similar to Beetlejuice, you could say, where we're pushing in and trying to find out where we're going until we eventually land on this building, and we're zooming and pushing in to the windows of it. We're still pretty far up. And then the film ends where we're pulling out from that. And I think that's a really interesting bookend because for me, I always look at it as maybe Satan looking in,
picking
on his little castle that he's built of his little minions going about and bringing about his son to the world. So that's why I always look at that as the POV of Satan.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a really fun one. Or maybe it's God watching it all happening like, shit.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Either one. Because obviously, yeah, Satan would look down, up, versus God would look up, down. But I mean, who's to say that, Satan doesn't have spies in the sky?
Spies in the sky. I like that.
Birds, crows, all kinds of things.
Yeah, crows. All right. And I love that. That's awesome.
Thanks, man.
The film opens with the tour of the apartment, and they do a great job with characterizations for Guy and Rosemary in this, because really quickly we understand Guy, his issues, and we'll understand his motivations for joining the cult immediately, because the realtor landlord asks what you do, and she tells him, oh, my husband Guy, he's an actor, and Guy lays out a couple of plays he's done in the past, like the more respectable kind of work. But then Rosemary's like, oh, all the TV spots and commercials that he's done. So Guy's ashamed of the work he's been paid for as an actor. He's clearly not doing what he wants to do. And just with those 3 lines of dialogue, we know that he's a budding actor, but he's not doing the kind of work he wants to be doing. And he's stuck doing TV stuff that pays well to obviously afford this apartment, but he's kind of ashamed of his work. And he won't even tell the landlord about the actual work he's been doing, just like the couple of plays he's done way long in the past.
Yeah, Rosemary also brings up a couple other plays he's done.
Yeah.
I guess he's kind of ashamed, but also he's just waiting for his shot.
Yeah.
And he just hasn't caught his big break yet. And like you said, he tries to hide. But Rosemary still is very proud of him. The way she always talks about Guy It's how proud she is of him and how look does great things, and the commercials are amazing. As soon as she's watching that derby race, that motorcycle race, and she hears the word Yamaha and it's about to go to the commercial, she runs to the TV and turns it up and watches her husband on TV. So no matter how insignificant guy might feel in his career or how low he is right now as an actor, Rosemary always supports him and still is very proud of him, which that's all he had to do. I think if he wasn't obsessed with the approval of other people, maybe he wouldn't have gotten lured and coaxed into this ploy against Rosemary. If he just looked at what was right in front of him, my wife, she's proud of me. That's all the really recognition I need right now. He would have been fine, I think. But he's self-centered. He's insecure, obviously, because a lot of actors are. And he wants fame and fortune, and he doesn't think he can get it on his own.
The tour of the apartment is really interesting. There's a lot of really great details that are early clues. And first of all, I love the hall of the apartment building. It's very daunting. It feels like it's like a basement, the hall of this beautiful apartment building in New York
dark
City.
Walls, dark wood,
Yeah, there's the part of the tile floor is broken, and there's repairs being made. There's something that just makes you feel off when they're entering this hallway, and then they enter the apartment, which is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's stunning. It's big. Incredible interior design. The previous tenant, Gardenier, the woman, had passed away. They don't really know how, but we see all the herbs. Sure, some of those are Tannis Root, and we learned that it's interesting. The name's Gardenier, and she was the gardener essentially for the coven. And we know that after watching the film, she's been growing herbs for the coven for probably years, for all the previous possible candidates they've had to birth the Antichrist. Terry was clearly a failed attempt. There were probably other failed attempts. So these people have probably been at it for a while, this coven of witches. And I love the design. There's also Beethoven's playing in the background, which is interesting. But the best part of this is while they're looking through the interior, Rosemary sees a little note, a handwritten note that Gardenier had obviously written. This was probably her suicide note that nobody noticed. And it says, "I can no longer associate myself," which means she's probably rejecting the covenant and she can no longer continue trying to bring about the Antichrist. We can only imagine what kind of conflicts were happening with her, the Cassavetes, and the other members, but we can assume that some shit went down and then she took her own life. She couldn't be part of this cult anymore. And then there's also...
Well, I don't think she took her own life. She died in her sleep.
Yeah.
In a
she
hospital.
was killed. Sorry, yeah.
So clearly she was killed. But before you go off on whatever you're about to say, put a pin in it real quick. Can we talk about Tannis Root?
Tannis Root, yes.
Okay, so Tannis Root, which actually doesn't exist.
Okay.
It's not real. But in the book, it's real. Now, this actually connects to why Rosemary is so naive and gullible and accepts so much mistreatment and gaslighting and lies. So Tannis Root, as she discovers later on in that book, the witch book, when she starts reading up on it, Tannis Root is used by the coven to control minds and to control behavior. So when you're wearing that Tannis Root necklace or you're using it on somebody else, you can control the way they think.
They're more susceptible.
To anything you say, which is why Rosemary, as she's wearing that Tannis Root necklace, she sort of accepts everything that's done to her or said to her. Same thing with why Dr. Saperstein has in his office for when he has, I'm guessing, when he has a woman in the office, they believe what he's saying and everything he's saying and doing.
That's so great.
Tannis Root doesn't exist in the real world. It's just for the story.
And it probably allows for the spells to maintain their presence, whatever spell the coven puts on them.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So
that's cool.
That's really the big significance and the source of Rosemary's naivety is because she's being manipulated with these herbs. Wow. And Tannis Root's a very important one. Then you can assume the things that are inside of her drink makes it even worse.
I love that. Okay, the next weird thing that we see in the apartment is there's a huge bureau or dresser in front of a closet. And the landlord's like, that's not supposed to be there. So he and Guy move the bureau against the wall, and it reveals just a closet door. As an audience, you're like, oh my God, what's going to be behind that door? What's behind it? What's behind it? They open it. It's just a short closet with a couple of towel shelves and then a vacuum. Now, this is weird. Rosemary points out, why would you block the vacuum and the towels? These are two things that you're going to need on a daily basis. And they just chalk it up to maybe the old woman was losing her marbles. Maybe she was getting senile. Clearly, this is obviously they were blocking the door to the Cassavetes apartment, which is just so brilliant. When you watch this movie and the end's happening, you're like, oh my God, it was a doorway. Ah, this is crazy. So that's a great little thing where when you're watching this, seems innocent, seems weird, But I mean, I don't know. Maybe she was senile. Why would you put the closet there? It's an odd thing to do. So clearly, the Cassavetes or the Coven members moved that bureau there after her death.
And then there's a little nugget later on in the film where she's talking to Terry in the basement in the laundry room, and where she talks about how Terry says she stays with the Cassavetes, and in this apartment 7A, obviously Rosemary and Guy are in 7E, but their walls are connected. And she even says some line to Terry like, "Oh, the back of your apartment used to be the back of the Cassavetes apartment used to be the back of mine."
Yeah.
They used to be connected, not realizing that there's still a connection there.
It's amazing.
That can be entered and exited. Now, the apartment stuff's really important because it's clearly out of their budget, but they have high hopes and they're setting their standards high and they want to make a baby at some points. But Rosemary wants a baby right now. Guy clearly doesn't. But what's really great and interesting is I think the next scene with Hutch.
Yeah.
Because Hutch is a friend of Rosemary's. Him and Guy are friends, but he's more a friend to Rosemary. And it's really interesting because they're telling him about the apartment they looked at. They're eating lamb
for slaughter,
sacrificial lamb. That's something that I like to pick up on. And they start kind of talking about witchcraft here. They start talking about he's curious about the apartment. He's curious about anyone who lives there, and then he starts talking about this apartment complex in France.
The Branford.
Not the Branford.
Oh, in France?
Yeah, he starts talking about the Trench sisters.
No, this all happened at the Branford
Okay, all
building.
happened at the Branford.
So he knows about the history of the Branford building.
Okay, the Branford building with the Trench sisters. Now, the Trench sisters were sisters who, according to Hutch, they're respectable Victorian women who ate human flesh and practiced orgies. Now,
they ate children, too.
There's actually a connection between Adrian Marcado and them, who obviously is a known Satanist. We can spoil. Adrian Marcado is obviously Roman, or was it Roman's father?
He's Roman's father.
Roman
and Stephen Marcado.
So Adrian Marcado lived at the building at the time that the Trench sisters lived there.
Yes, and he was famous for practicing witchcraft, committing rituals and sacrifices, and then he was eventually attacked outside of the apartment building by locals who wanted to stop his ways. And then there's a photo of him we see in the book of witchcraft, and it ties to the whole mystery of Roman being his son, changed his name, and that's why Roman's clearly lived there all his life.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that photo says Paris, like 18.
It might. I mean, the photo might have been in Paris,
yeah,
but
I think it's where I got.
Adrian Marcado and his family lived in the Branford building. That's why Roman grew up there. Romans always lived there, essentially. There was also a dead infant wrapped in newspaper found in the basement of the building years before. So there's multiple instances of strange occurrences happening at the Branford building, which is all obviously clues to like previous attempts at probably making the Antichrist or rituals or whatever. And so you can imagine the Marcado coven has been around for decades, and it's just become in disguise now, essentially.
Pretty much. And then we have obviously their first night in apartment 7E. The walls are thin. You can hear Minnie and Roman bickering in the other
Roman.
And they make love. But then obviously we have sort of they're getting their lives figured out, getting to the swing of things. And really important scene, we have the laundry room, the basement, where...
by the way, I love the disrobing. It's like 40 seconds of them both taking their clothes off on the bare floor.
Let's make love.
Guy's like, all right. Throws the shoes off.
Just turns the light off immediately. Don't gotta tell me twice. In the laundry, in the basement, Rosemary meets Terry Giannoffrio. Now, Terry Giannoffrio is this young woman. She's staying with the Cassavetes. She was once a drug addict, and she was helped out by the Cassavetes. They took her in. They took her in off the street. She said, I'd either be dead in her jail without them. Thank God for them. Ironically, she thanks God for the Cassavetes. And she shows Rosemary a good luck charm that she has. It's this necklace. It was a gift from the Cassavetes, this beautiful ball chain charm. And it smells terrible, but it's a good luck charm according to them. But clearly, we find out later on that Terry was the first or an early choice for them to try to create the Antichrist.
You can imagine that they've probably picked up multiple women in the past, like homeless or off the streets to try and use as their surrogate mother. So you can imagine Terry. I always look at it as Terry was not like the first pick before Rosemary. Like she's probably like the 30th attempt over the last few decades to do this.
Yeah. And then we have 3, I think, really important moments coming up next. We have, they're trying to sleep at night, and they hear the seance chanting. They have chanting and singing in the other walls.
And I love how there's this play on the shadows of whatever's in the apartment. And we get this, like, this moving shadow on the wall, which just makes it so eerie visually.
Yeah, it's like, is there something there?
Yeah.
But it's really just them. There's no one in there. And then they're coming back from dinner or something, and Terry's dead. She had jumped out of the window, landed several stories down, hit a car, and landed on the sidewalk. And she's dead. She's covered in a pool of blood. And then the Cassavetes show up. They sort of have this interestingly calm reaction, but also she's not blood. She's not family. Maybe it's something they didn't expect to happen, but they're, I guess, emotionally prepared. Maybe because they're older. But they do have an odd reaction in there. But they're very, they're very
cordial.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think for me, it's Ruth Gordon did a great job. It's as though Minnie's more frustrated than she is upset about the death. It's like when you first watch this movie, you're like, oh man, the poor old couple. But then when you watch it on rewatches, you're like, Minnie looks like frustrated that like their surrogate mother died. Like, oh man, I can't believe this. Like, it was work. We thought everything was going fine. You know, I think that they were, when they both say, oh, she was so happy. Terry was so happy. I can't believe this. I think for her, that subtext for saying it seemed to be going so well. She seemed to be really on board with what was going on. But maybe Terry found out what was happening and jumped off the window. So I agree with the reactions. They're not what you would expect, and they look different on rewatches.
But they comply with whatever the police want, and obviously they say whatever they need to, and they give the evidence to them. And then that night, Rosemary has this odd dream. It's of a nun from her past, but we hear the voice of Minnie speaking through the voice, the mouth of the nun, and saying things through the wall. We can assume that Minnie's talking through the wall, and Rosemary's hearing her in her dream. She says, "I told you she wouldn't be open-minded." And I think it's pretty clear, especially after you finish the movie, that Terry and the seance probably try to go through with it, and they probably got the devil to come and rape her, and she probably realized that it wasn't a dream and it was real, and killed herself.
My guess is they probably told Terry what was happening, hoping that she would be open-minded about it because she seemed to love them so much for helping her. I think they probably made a mistake of telling her, and so then with Rosemary, they're like, okay, let's just keep it hidden from her the entire time and never tell her what's happening.
Yeah, but it's pretty clear that she probably knew what was happening.
Yeah.
And that it had happened. That's, I think, the chanting is, I think, the obvious example.
Yeah, I would say the chanting through the walls was probably what happens to Rosemary halfway through this film with her incident. Trying not to get YouTube banned here.
Yeah.
But I totally see that. It's a great connection. And I think that way that they realize with Rosemary, okay, let's go about it in a different way. And the dream's really interesting because it's about nuns, it's about Catholicism, and I think in Rosemary replies with, she seemed to have gotten into trouble about something when she was a kid, with the nuns, and so she was defending herself like she was a child again, so it's combining that with the Catholic guilt that she grew up with.
That's a great point we just said before that, though, where let's do it differently with Rosemary. Yeah. And clearly, it's obvious what their plan is with Rosemary after they meet outside, that Terry was by herself, and so it's probably hard to manipulate someone that's just by themselves.
Yeah, solitary.
But now they have Rosemary and Guy. They use Guy as the vehicle to get through to Rosemary.
And Minnie, the next scene, Minnie comes in, basically barging into the house to thank her for being so sweet. But Minnie is basically doing recon right now. She's scoping out the apartment. She's
how much you pay for a chair like that?
$200. Where'd you get this? And she's asking about Rosemary. She's inspecting the foods that she eats, and this whole thing with Minnie coming to the apartment. It was all, let's find out what we can about Rosemary. But then also she's so casual about it. She doesn't give off any hints. Like Rosemary's like, oh, we're thinking about making a baby. And Minnie's like, she wasn't like, oh, really? You want to have a baby? Oh, that's perfect. She was just like, oh, yeah, you're young. Have lots of babies. She's so off the cuff and so nonchalant about everything. She perfectly disguises what her intentions are. And the whole point of coming is to figure out what's going on. Guy and Rosemary, they're married. Do they want to have kids? How many are they close to their family? And she basically gathered all the information she needed, and she's basically going to report back to Roman what she found out, essentially.
Yeah, and huge thing happens where Guy loses that big part. There's this huge play that he's going out for. He doesn't get the part, comes home. Rosemary says that they're going to go to dinner with Minnie and Roman. Of course, Guy's like, oh, do we have to do that tonight? If we get friendly with an old married couple like this, we'll never get rid of them.
It'll be Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah.
Also, the actor who got the role is named Donald. He'll come into play, obviously, later.
Yeah, so Donald gets the role. But, Guy's like, it'll be my good deed for the night, which is a great little, it's sort of religious kind of thing.
Atonement.
I'll do one good thing
get me
tonight.
into heaven, yeah.
Yes, and just for this one night. And I love the scene, their first dinner at the Cassavetes apartment in apartment 7A. Roman's in this vibrant red jacket, and he's also pouring vodka blushes, a red drink. And they have this brand new carpet. Why do they have brand new carpet? I wonder why they have brand new carpet.
Also, the painting, there's lots of open spaces on the walls, and Rosemary points out that later on that there were hooks in the walls. Why do they take all their pictures down?
Yeah, name a place. I've been there. I love how Guy says Alaska. Oh, I've been to Alaska. I've been all over Alaska.
Yeah.
Juneau. Yep.
Juneau, Alaska. Yeah, everywhere.
And then they have that conversation about religion.
Oh, and I'm sorry. Vodka blushes. It's a connection to blood. Obviously, blush in the cheeks.
Oh yeah,
is caused from the blood flow. So I think the vodka blushes is a perfect connection as well to the idea of blood.
And then they have that conversation at dinner about religion, and Roman calls out the hypocrisy of religion, and it's a great segue into later on where you can see the nuggets of coaxing Guy into future stardom during the dinner.
Oh yeah,
he talks about how his father was a theatrical producer, kind of insinuating that he has connections subtly. And also complimenting Guy about past performances he's done, he's seen. He's complimenting Guy like, all you need is your big break.
You did that thing. You did a gesture in the play. And also, I feel like Roman researched all of Guy's work before this meeting, because he even points out, in your TV ads and your TV performances, like, I doubt he had even heard of Guy or seen him, but I think he poured through all of the work that Guy had done. He probably has great connections from that producer.
It's possible that they made sure Guy wouldn't get that role. Mm-hmm. It's possible that they planned that he would lose that job to the other actor so that they could take advantage of him. I like to look at it that way, where he lost this big role.
To give him need.
Yeah, to give them an in by losing that role. What's the other actor's name? Donald. Yeah. And so that they would have an in. But he's sort of, again, he's coaxing Guy and talking about how talented he is. And he just needs that. You need that one break, and then you'll be a star, basically. Yeah. And then Rosemary and Minnie, they're doing the dishes.
Oh yes.
Rosemary comes in the living room, and Guy and Roman are ear to ear in conversation.
But first, she looks through. She's in the kitchen with Minnie, and she looks at the doorway, and you just see cigar smoke pouring to the left across the room, and you're just like, that shot is so powerful. You're like, something's going on over there.
Something's cooking.
It's quiet, and there's smoke pouring. Like, there's something happening. And then she enters the room, and like you said, Roman is like right up. I mean, Guy is right at Roman's mouth. It's like he's listening intently. He's got like a very serious and inquisitive and fascinated look on his eyes. And it's like the complete opposite of when Guy walked into the apartment, just playing nice to be nice to the new neighbors. And it's just like Roman, I don't think bewitched him yet with the idea, but I think that he gained Guy's fascination from his stories, and I can only imagine the things he was telling Guy quietly in the other room.
Yeah, because what's he want to do? The next night he wants to go back.
I'm going to see him tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, I want to hear more of those stories.
You don't have to come if you don't want to.
Yeah, now it's reversed. Because the night before, or that night, Rosemary said, we don't have to if you don't want to. Yeah, now the guy's saying, you don't have to come if you don't want to.
So here's my question to you. When do you think Roman poised the setup to Guy? Was it in this first chat, or was it the second night, and he gave Guy the entire rundown of what they wanted to do to Rosemary?
I think it really just depends on how weak-minded you think, or insecure guy is. You know, he's desperate for his big shot. He's desperate to be famous. He's desperate for fame and fortune, to be a star. And I think someone with that fragile of a disposition, you could coax pretty quickly, especially if he told him like he's helped other people get specific certain positions. Obviously, I don't think that the first night, the dinner party, said, I want to use your wife to give birth
I think
to
it would be
Satan.
too risky.
I think it's more of there are things that can be done to give you an upper hand. You know, maybe he said, not necessarily we can harm or maim the other actor, but we can make sure you get the job. I think the first conversation wasn't as drastic, but the second conversation was, because I think it's clear, especially when we move forward to when Guy gets the role, he gets the phone call, finds out that the other actor has gone blind.
Yeah.
And he's got the job. He's got the part. He's like, I hate to get it that way, but yeah, sure, I'll take the part. My lawyer, Alan Stone, just talk to him. There should be no problem on our end. And what does Guy do? He hangs up the phone, and he looks at the phone. And I feel like the first few times I saw this movie, I feel like he was just in shock that, like, I can't believe this happened. But then, about getting the part. But now, every time I watch it, I look at him pausing, looking at the phone for like 8 seconds, looks at Rosemary, sort of in disbelief that maybe Roman made this happen.
I like to look at it as, so the second night he went in. So I think in the first night, Roman told him all sorts of stories, because Guy keeps talking about the stories he was telling me. I think Roman was telling him, like, stories about the occult and maybe crazy things happening and all sorts of bizarre events with occult behavior. Not necessarily saying that they were in a coven, but like it was a tease, you know what I mean? And then it was an appetizing conversation. And then the second night, I think Minnie and Roman basically were like, do you want all of your dreams to come true? We can make it happen for you. This is who we are. We can do this. We can give you all the things you've wanted, but what we need from you in return is a child. And we want you to do that for Rosemary and us, and to make a child for us. And so then, when he gets that phone call and he hangs up and he's in disbelief and he looks at the phone, for me, I look at it, I always look at it as guys like, holy shit, it worked. Like, it actually worked. And then from then on, he's just full tilt. Whatever the Cassavetes need from me, I am on board for it.
Yeah. He's not a great guy.
Oh, yeah.
He loves Rosemary, but
he loves himself more.
He loves himself more in his career more, definitely, absolutely. So it's interesting to sort of theorize what those 2 nights of conversation were like. Maybe Roman, I think the first night, maybe Roman's talking about all of the people he's helped gain success. I picture all the people in the coven are all very successful because of Roman.
And also, Rosemary gets the charm necklace before he comes back the second night. And then when he comes back after the second night, he lies on the couch. He's like, oh my God, the stories, it was a great night. The second night with Roman, and Rosemary was there all day, but she has the new necklace and she doesn't want to wear it anymore. He's already saying, hey, you should wear it. They got it for you. You should wear it if you accept it. So he's already slyly working for their favor. And Guy's dialogue in this movie is amazing because as an actor, he's the perfect person for them to play the part of a dutiful husband who needs to gaslight Rosemary the entire course of the pregnancy.
And now he gets the play. He's also being courted for an offer for a lead in a TV show. And he wants to have a baby now. He's even marked the calendar of when they should start. A completely different person, a total 180. At first, it looks like just because of the success he's having, but obviously there are more sinister motives. But we'll get into that.
Oh yeah.
After our break, let's have our intermission segment coming up. Do some fun trivia, then we'll get back to Rosemary's Baby. But before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost Podcast is to become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Why would you want to do this? Because we'll give you awesome charm necklaces full of Tannis Root. Not to mention, you get access to weekly bonus episodes of the show. You get access to the ad-free version of every single episode. You get access to our Discord as well. Perks like watch parties with us and the rest of the people on that app. Merchandise, video messages, all kinds of things. Patreon is the best way to support Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Just go to patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast today to sign up. Another great way to support the show, leave those 5-star ratings and reviews right now on Spotify and Apple, and subscribe on YouTube. Subscribing on YouTube and leaving these likes really helps our show grow. It helps us get seen by new people, especially on all 3 of those platforms. It helps us rank better on Spotify and Apple in the podcast charts. Helps new people discover us on YouTube feeds. So leave those likes. Subscribe on YouTube. 5-star ratings, reviews, Spotify and Apple. I'll read a 5-star review out from Apple in just a minute. I love to read the written ones out. And another great way to support the show, just share us. Word of mouth is the best way for a podcast to grow organically. And we're all organic. No STDs here. We're all
no STDs.
I mean, steroids.
Thank God.
Steroids. I'm going to say steroids. HGH.
What?
I've been up since 6.
No additive, no high fructose corn syrup here.
No, we're all natty. We're all natty. That's what I was trying to say. We're all natural. Anyways, not STDs. Share it to the family and friends. That's all I'm going to say.
This episode, of course, is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your posters online today. Be sure to use our promo code Raiders10 right now at movieposters.com to get 10% off your order immediately. They have a huge selection of pretty much every movie and TV show imaginable in their poster library, all sorts of sizes, framing, and even backlighting for your poster needs. They have everything from your favorite horror films to your favorite blockbusters, your favorite Hollywood classics. They have international posters. They have original prints, alternate prints, beautiful stuff, high quality, very affordable prices. They are the one-stop shop for all of your poster needs. So go to movieposters.com and use our promo code Raiders10. That'll get you 10% off your order right now.
All right, let's get into our intermission and do framed first, Anthony. Are you ready?
Let me pull
The last
it up.
one was a doozy.
That was
we had
tough.
a little difficulty with the last one.
All right,
but
we got
let's check out framed right now.
We have a blue marble on a wood table.
Hold on, let me pull it up. I'm pulling up. Don't beat me to it.
I don't know what it is, so I'm not going to beat you.
Maybe I'll get it.
It's animated.
Hold on.
This is an animation.
Slow down.
I'm just describing it.
I'm
Jesus.
still waiting for it to load. I thought you moved to the next image.
I didn't. I'm just looking at the image.
Why does my frame take so long to load?
I don't know, man.
I guess my Wi-Fi.
Turn your Wi-Fi off your phone.
off.
Now it'll work.
There we go. Okay, now I see it. It's a blue.
Blue marble.
I'm gonna say maybe it's called marble blue.
But there are going to be multiple marbles because there's another shadow of another marble next to it.
Hmm.
However, I have no friggin' idea. I'm just going to guess. What's the animated film?
What's
Cinderella.
That's actually not a bad guess.
Wrong.
Oh,
it's an anime.
Perfect blue.
It's an anime.
Nope.
So now we're in the convenience store, and it looks like a shootout just happened.
Ooh, this is a cool shot.
Overhead, there's money. I'm going to say Ghost in the Shell.
Ghost in the Shell. I have no idea. I thought it was going to be Perfect Blue, but I guess I was wrong.
Incorrect. Oh, man.
Moving on to the next one.
There's a woman in a purple cloak. I have no idea what this is at all. Anime is not my strong suit.
Yeah, I'm stumped as well. I think I'm just going to skip to the answer because I don't know that one. This one I don't know.
I think we're going to be stumped on this. Okay, we got a trio of people. There's a dog. There's Koji. Oh, wait, is this the they did a remake of this with John Cho? What's it called? Series, Netflix.
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop?
Yep, that's it.
It's Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop.
Nice. Got it. It was the orange hair did it for me.
I needed the fifth image.
Let's see what the fifth one was.
It's him in the suit.
Oh, yeah.
And then the last one is definitely, it's Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah. Nice.
All right. Not horrible.
I got it.
Not horrible.
Four images of a movie I've never seen.
Yeah, it's actually impressive then.
Thank you.
Let's head to our intermission questions now. Anthony, here's a movie quote for you to guess. You better wake up. The world you live in is just a sugar-coated topping. There is another world beneath it, the real world. And if you want to survive, you better learn to pull the trigger.
Is that The Matrix?
No.
Better learn to pull the trigger. I don't know.
Blade.
Blade. Nice. All right, here's my quote. Two people talking. Did you ever want to be a proper politician in your own right? Of course. Didn't you want to be a proper writer?
What's this from? Oh, man. Oh, so familiar. It sounds so familiar. What is it?
Ghostwriter.
Of course.
Ewan and Pierce.
Yeah, Pierce Brosnan.
Ewan and Paris.
Paris. What a good flick.
It's a good flick.
I remember you recommended that to me like 3 years ago. And I think after I watched it, I was like, dude, this is so good.
Yeah, you were freaked out.
It was
after.
awesome. It was an awesome movie. Anthony, guess
great.
this movie release year. The Parent Trap.
1998.
Oh, right on the money.
Yes.
I was not expecting you to get it after you started with 2000s. I was like, that's way off, man.
Happy to surprise you, man. What year did The Ghostwriter come out?
2007?
2010. 2010.
Movie pop quiz. In The Truman Show, what is Truman's last name?
Fuck. Truman. Oh, that's a good question. Truman. I don't know.
Burbank. Truman Burbank,
Oh
where
my
the
God.
film studios are.
Oh my God. Where it's probably where they are, literally.
What?
In Burbank.
Yeah, they probably are
Yeah.
in Burbank. Yeah, in the movie.
That's good. Good question. Good picture. Good
Good
picture.
picture. Good picture.
Polanski, fucking director Rosemary's fucking
Here I
Baby.
am. One pool party away from starring in the next Polanski film. Oh, yeah, I feel way better.
feel way-
Thanks, buddy. Sorry about that.
Got my hat back. I mean, got my jacket back.
It's the first time I've seen fucking director Rosemary's fucking Baby's my next door neighbor.
Always buy, never rent.
So I say, always you buy a house, you fucking live here, man. You're not just passing through.
one of them. All right. John Cassavetes was also an acclaimed director who directed his wife in many of his own films. Who is his wife?
Jane Fonda.
Nope.
I have no idea.
Gina Rowlands.
Oh.
Yep.
Gina Rowlands.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Anthony. Do we have any haters this week? Any
Oh, yeah,
unsubscribes?
yeah.
What are we working with, man?
I totally
Let's
forgot.
get to the good stuff. Let's get to the goods.
I got them right here. Okay, here we go. Mr. Mark Prudhomme, 1999, the best year for movies? I think you meant 1994. Poor math skills, unsubscribed.
We've scientifically proven it's 1999. We have.
Yes, 99 scientists
Science
agree.
has proven.
Also, in the Blade section, you said the epitome instead of eponymous. Poor English skills.
I remember that.
Unsubscribed. When I said it in my head, I was like, I don't think that was the right word.
Yeah, I didn't want to correct you, but I was like, we were cruising. I was like, that's funny.
Damian Burke, you absolutely said Zoller was a tragic character. Unsubscribed.
I got you.
Thanks for the tape.
We got him, everyone.
Whoa. They didn't say it was me.
It
Could
was
have been you.
You were talking about Frederick Zoller. I wasn't.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check.
Yeah, go ahead. Please do.
Damien,
Please. I want to see a transcript.
can you confirm which twin said that? Can you confirm, please?
Definitely wasn't me.
Thank you. We'll find out from Damien.
I can't wait.
He'll
It
get to
just
it.
sounds like something you'd say.
Damien's on the case, guys.
Damien.
Don't worry.
It's a
All
cool
right,
name.
Gabriel. Finally, the 90s. I've been excited for this. If we had to wait any longer, I think I would have unsubscribed. You guys, are the best pod out there.
Oh, thank you, pal.
Elijah. I'm at the beginning, and if Small Soldiers isn't in this list, I'm unsubscribing. Keep up the great work, guys.
We did bring it up.
We did.
It's
It
not
is-
in the top 90,
Oh, yeah.
but we did talk about it.
It's in there. Small Soldiers is great. Next up, we got 1 second. Hold on for me. Hold, please.
I dropped Anthony some knowledge on that because he was bringing up how Burger King's Rodeo Cheeseburger was started for Small Soldiers as marketing. I mean, for Wild West, but actually the Rodeo Cheeseburger was made for
Is it the Rodeo Cheeseburger?
I just said
What's
it to
the
you.
Rodeo Cheeseburger.
the Rodeo Cheeseburger. That's what happens when you live in Los Angeles because of Rodeo Drive. The Rodeo Cheeseburger was made for Small Soldiers in the marketing campaign.
Also, just a quick correction. I never named the Rodeo Cheeseburger. I just said Burger King made a meal for Wild
You
West.
said they made a burger.
I didn't say Rodeo Cheeseburger.
You said, well, what else would it have been?
I don't know. I just remember a burger. So
Yeah,
just to let you know, I never said Rodeo Cheeseburger was made for Wild West. Just to correct you.
But then I said, remember the rodeo cheeseburger? You're like, oh, yes, that's the one I was talking about with Wild Wild West.
No, I did not say that at all. So you dropped the knowledge on me. I just said, I'm pretty sure Burger King made a meal for Wild Wild West. And you said, actually, the rodeo cheeseburger was made for small soldiers, you fucking moron.
That's probably what it sounded like. This is probably accurate.
All right, next up, Dawson. You posted a photo of me next to the Joker poster, and you wrote, just interviewed Todd Phillips. Dawson wrote, that's not Todd Phillips, that's a poster. I'm sorry for whatever this is you're going through, but I'm going to have to unsubscribe.
That's really funny.
That was the best joke of the week, I think. Next up, Brock on our Letterboxd recap. I feel like this episode should have been titled Darren Brown Apocalypse Recap. Unsubscribe.
So you talked about it for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, but then you talked about it for 10 minutes on
It's pretty
Mousse.
cool, guys.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Did you finish it?
Not yet.
Oh, you didn't finish it?
I've been busy.
Typical. All right, that's it for our unsubscribes.
It's 2.5 hours long.
You got 40 minutes left.
Anyways,
It's an hour long in total.
we have a great 5-star written review from Chillerful. Actually, this is funny. Their subject line, Rick Dalton voice, good picture.
Good picture, good picture.
A great episode to be a part of after just doing it ourselves. 5 stars. Twins just get it done better. Oh, yeah.
And twins!
And twins! James and Anthony are some of the hardest working creators out there, balancing their filmmaking journey, getting those gains, engaging with a friendly community, and bringing high quality episodes every single week without fail. Been a listener since 2021, and I'm not sure what I'd do without them in my weekly routine. They share trustworthy news, provide fun and detailed analysis of films, as well as shed light on movies you've never heard of. Their passion and knowledge is unmatched. They make you never want to unsubscribe. Love you guys, Nick Pat. Nick.
Thanks, Nick.
What a great review.
Getting those gains today after this recording.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's one of my favorite reviews I've ever gotten. That's really sweet.
Balancing filmmaking the gains. That's great.
Good picture. Good picture.
Good picture.
Good review.
Fucking director Rosemary's fucking baby.
Goddamn hippies. Thank you, Nick. All right, Anthony.
It's a private road.
You hippies came up here to smoke dope, didn't you? What's your streaming
Just
recommendation?
turn around. Don't back it up. I was mad with you.
What's your streaming recommendation?
The Skin I Live In just got added onto Max from Pedro Almodovar. This is one of the best horror films ever, and it will absolutely rock your socks. It will blow your mind. It'll make you think, what the fuck did I just watch? And I couldn't recommend it enough for spooky season. The Skin I Live In on Max.
That's the reaction I had when I finished that film. I said, what the fuck did I just watch? In the best way possible. My streaming recommendation is Good Time, which is on Max. Safdie Brothers and Robert Patz. All right, let's get back into our episode and continuation of the film Rosemary's Baby.
Where did we leave off? We left off with, oh my god, this is where we're going.
Dinner.
Chocolate mousse.
Chocolate mousse.
So
which
first
is a
of
huge
all,
part of the film.
First guy courts her with the roses. He knows he's been messing up. I'm sure the Cassavetes were like, you gotta do a little bit better. She's look at her. She looks like she's got no one to talk to, and she looks so miserable.
She's a mess.
So she comes home, and there are roses everywhere. And he's like, I've been a schmuck. I've been a jerk. This is all just wooing her for tonight, in which he knows Minnie, after their dinner, is going to deliver chocolate mousse.
Minnie calls it
Eat the mouse. And
he's a good actor.
this is why Guy's perfect, because he's an actor.
Yeah.
He's very good. But also he knows how to talk her into doing things. So she brings the mousse, and I love how Rosemary's like, don't let her in. Not tonight. Please don't let her in. Good, good, good. It's great. And then he comes with the chocolate mousse, or the mouse, as she says. Rosemary has a couple bites. She's like, oh, it has this chalky undertaste. It's clearly drugged. And then she puts it away, headed out the table. And then rather than saying, you got to eat it, he's so good with his wording. Guy says, oh, the poor whoop, the old bat slaved all night. Okay, fine, don't eat it. It's the reverse psychology of like, fine, don't eat it. You don't have to. If you're gonna be that rude to her for putting in all that work and slaving on it all day, don't eat it. And then she's like, fine, I'll eat it.
Oh, it's gonna be a big thing.
Yeah. So then he goes into the other room to change the record, to flip it over. She pours pretty much most of it out on her lap because she doesn't want to eat it, which is why in the next scene, she does come to some kind of consciousness during the event. But this is an instance of Guy. He has committed to this, and he's playing a role, and he's all aboard right now.
What's so great about this scene and Guy's faking is they're having a nice dinner. It's a really nice shot. And then the doorbell rings, and what's he do? He slams his like napkin on the table. He's like, I can't. He's like, can you believe someone's at the door right now? Mm-hmm. And he obviously is like, oh, it's probably Minnie. It's probably them.
Yeah.
And Rosemary buys it. I buy it too. I'm like, oh, I can't believe someone's interrupting their nice dinner they're having right now. And, you know, the mousse, the chalky undertaste, I always interpreted that it's the toppings are what get her drugged, not the mousse itself, because Guy also eats the mousse. And Guy doesn't hallucinate. He doesn't get drugged.
Well, I just think of it as he knows which one has the drugs in it and which one doesn't.
Okay, yeah, probably. So
that's what it is.
So my guess is because the toppings are different. It's probably so he knows which one to use.
Minnie probably signaled when she handed it to him at the door, "This is the drugged one.
Hey, use this one."
Yeah. So I think he's just there's just some kind of drug in it. It's not Tannis Root. It's nothing like satanic. It's literally something to knock her out.
And this faint drug sequence is so surreal. It's really well done. Obviously, Rosemary gets faint. He catches her, undresses her on the bed, and
he preps her.
Yeah, she's going in and out of consciousness. She's in between dreams and reality. She's dreaming on this yacht. She's at this dinner party on a yacht. Hutch is there, but Hutch can't come with them. And then Guy starts to disrobe her to make her more comfortable, he says. And I think one of the most important parts of the removal of her clothing is the removal of her wedding ring.
Yeah.
It seems like that's one of the most important parts because they were married probably in a Catholic church because Rosemary's Catholic. So that's probably the final thing that he has to remove from her is the ring. Maybe if she keeps wearing the ring, Satan can't come do his deed.
Yeah.
His evil deed. But because he removes the ring, she probably can. And after that happens,
great point.
She is floating just below the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. In a lot of ways, you can see it's probably an interpretation of her leaving the protection of God and leaving the protection of the church after her wedding ring gets removed and entering the darkness and the shadows of hell.
But if you look at the paintings, we get a couple of the famous paintings from Michelangelo. But then the camera pans more to the left and we enter another area of the church. And then we get demonic satanic paintings. There's a couple of satanic paintings. And then there's it's an elk with the horns above a doorway, and that's also in the church. So the church, it's like she's leaving the Catholic Church and entering the Satanic Church, all in one shot.
Yeah,
in
that's
one
a great
frame.
point.
And I love the floating bed. We get this overhead close up of her where she's clearly like floating. There's probably a couple crew guys under the bed, just like rocking her.
Yeah, with like a film projection.
Yeah, and then we get the water. The bed's on a lake and floating in the water. It's absolutely fantastic. And then that leads to she's back on the docks, then she's back on the yacht. And the elevator man actually is driving the yacht and tells her to go downstairs. And she goes downstairs into the yacht and she enters this temple bedroom basement, which is where the act is going to take place. And there's fire burning on the walls. And when she looks at the right wall, listen to this. She sees this building burning on flames on the wall. It's actually an exact replica. It's a live action replica of the painting in the Cassavetes hallway that she first sees of a building on fire.
In the third act.
Yeah, in the third act. And she actually sees the fire burning in the dream, but it's actually the exact same position to the right of her in the hall of the Cassavetes home.
Do you think they're in a different floor of the Branford, or do you think they're in Minnie and Roman's apartment?
They're in Minnie and Roman's apartment because that's where they did it with Terry, hence the chanting.
Yeah, and then the fireplace and everything.
Yes.
Even though everything's dark,
yes,
it still looks just like their apartment.
I don't think that the Coven can risk going outside of this apartment, the Cassavetes home, for any kind of ritual. Everything's done in their home.
Yeah, probably. And then obviously she lays on top of that lone bed. Naked people all around her, and this is a really strong instance of it all being real.
Yes,
and a clue because Guy's there; he's naked as well, and he's concerned to Minnie. Like it looks like, is she okay? Is she awake? She looks like she's right now, and she's like, if she took the mousse, it's like she's dead.
If she ate the mouse, she's fine. But it's dead because she didn't eat all the mousse. They think she did. Guy thinks she ate all the mousse. She only ate a little bit of it, hence why she's coming to a little bit.
Yeah, and then obviously she gets tied down. And then Satan comes from hell and has sex with Rosemary. Do you
He
interpret
doesn't
it...
have sex with her. He rapes her.
Rapes her. He rapes Rosemary. Do you interpret it as through... he does it through Guy?
So what happens is, that's a good question. There's 3 shots that just illustrate a transformation. Guy's hands run down her body, then a little bit more animalistic hands run down her body, and then the full demon hands run down her body. So it looks...
And also there's a shot of Guy,
Yes.
half demon, half human.
It's absolutely Cassavetes in some of the makeup for at least one of the shots. So I believe they use a human surrogate to birth the demon. To birth...
So a male surrogate,
Yeah.
Satan takes control of him in a
of
way.
his body.
Yeah.
Basically possesses... the way I look at it is Satan possesses Guy's body and emerges through his body to commit the act, and then he leaves through the body. It's not like Satan appears through a cloud of smoke or like flames or something. I think he emerges through the physical form of Guy.
Yeah, that's what I interpret it as well. And that's when Rosemary, she says that line, "This is no dream, this is really happening," and wakes up with those scratches
But
marks all
first,
over
we
her.
get the next part of the dream with the Pope, because they were talking about the Pope at the dinner.
Yeah.
And then
It's the Pope at Yankee
the
Stadium!
Pope at Yankee Stadium. Look at this mob. And then the Pope appears while she's being ravaged on the bed, and she apologizes to the Pope to take pity on her. And she says, I'm sorry. And then the Pope has her kiss his ring, and the ring is now the Tannis charm on his finger that she kisses.
It's a great point. You're right.
It's genius.
It is the Tannis charm. It's a disturbing scene. It's terrifying. And goodness, imagine seeing this in 1968.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything quite like it before.
But then she wakes up, and you're like, did that happen or did it not happen? It seems like it happened, but then it seems like maybe it was all in her head. And then she's got scratches on her body. And this is another instance of great acting by Guy, where he basically takes the excuse of, I didn't want to miss baby night last night. So he implied that he had sex with her while she was sleeping as a way to make a cover for Satan impregnating her.
Which is just as disturbing.
Yeah,
Terrible.
it's disturbing how like he passes it off as like a playful thing. He's like, it's kind of fun in a necrophilia kind of way.
I already filed my nails down.
Yeah, he blames his own nails for leaving the scratch marks on her, whereas clearly Claus did that.
Yeah. And from this moment on, Guy is a lot more erratic and kind of angsty. And I think this morning he's kind of a mess. He's like, I can't believe what just happened.
It's a great shot. He wakes up first. He's sitting up in bed, and as Rosemary's stirring awake, he lets out this like really deep sigh. And the way I interpret that is Guy is like, holy fuck. Okay, here we go. I gotta go through. This is how we're gonna do this. It really happened. He gives like a deep breath, and then he goes into his performance. It's a great little beat Cassavetes did.
Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy couple of sequences.
And then she's pregnant. It's great news. And immediately Guy's like, can I tell Minnie and Roman? They're just going to be delighted.
Yeah. Well, Dr. Hill, the visit's important because it seems like a routine visit. She gets her blood drawn to see if she's pregnant or not. She gets the phone call that she is. But also on the phone with the doctor, he says, I need another blood sample. And she says, what for? For this, for that. She says 2 different answers at the same time.
Blood sugar issues.
Blood sugars. She's like, okay, that seems odd. And then she has that quarter waiting for Guy when he comes into the door, which is the bet they made. And Guy says it's going to be a new beginning. I have to go tell Minnie and Roman. And Rosemary's like, what the fuck for?
And then they recommend Dr. Saperstein. Dr. Hill's a nobody. Dr. Saperstein's one of the best doctors in the entire country. He's the best in New York. You're going to him. You're only going to get the best. And then we have the Saperstein meeting where Saperstein's also a great actor. And he plays it with perfect doctor candor of like not really giving a shit. He's like, okay, don't read books. No pregnancy has ever been the same. Don't listen to your friends. Don't take any pills. None of this stuff. You're just going to have a daily drink made by Minnie per my instructions. And she's going to say yes to him. He's an acclaimed, highly respected doctor in the city. Obviously, she's going to take his word for it.
Minnie Cassavetes has a wonderful garden. She's going to make a vitamin drink for you, more nutritious and healthy than any pill you can get on the market.
Yeah, it's great. And then we get the haircut.
Yeah, so Minnie's going to start, not Minnie, Rosemary's starting to fall apart. She cuts her hair very short. She starts experiencing stomach pain, and then she starts to get very pale.
What I like about the haircut is we didn't see the haircut happen, and it wasn't like a big reveal. Like Polanski didn't do like some big, huge shot to reveal, oh, her hair's cut. She kind of just like plainly walks into the apartment, and we see it just in the same perspective as Guy seeing it, of her just slowly walking in. It's not like a big thing about it, which I think was a great way to portray the haircut.
And Guy's such a dick about it. He says, "You paid money for that. You look great. It's the haircut. You look awful, basically." And Rosemary's deterioration gets worse and worse. She starts eating raw steak. Basically, she sears it for like 13 seconds and eats raw steak. She's getting paler. She's getting sickly looking, and then she has Hutch come over for a visit.
So I wanted to talk one more thing about the haircut. I think the reason why she cuts her hair, the motivations might not be clear on first watches, but the haircut, she's been given so many rules, and so many people are involved in every moment of her life and every decision of her life now. For me, the haircut was her making a decision on her own for once.
Yeah, probably. Now, Hutch visits Rosemary, and this is an insanely important scene because Rosemary finally can sort of open up to somebody who isn't going to lie to her. And Hutch is no bullshit. And Hutch cares about Rosemary. He's very curious about these people. He knows who Saperstein is, and oh yeah, he delivered 2 of my grandchildren. Very respected doctor, but he's very skeptical. He's curious. Roman comes by.
He's like, "Who do you got in there?
Who's in there?" And obviously they meet, and piercing eyes. And he says Roman has piercing eyes when he leaves.
Also, Rosemary notices that he has pierced ears.
Yeah,
Roman has pierced ears, which she never noticed before.
Pierced ears and piercing eyes.
And Hutch is like asking questions about like the odd circumstances of what's happening, whether it be Tannis Root, and why is she losing weight? And there's so many odd things happening that Hutch seems very curious about, which Roman went there to basically see who's in Rosemary's apartment. He clearly heard someone enter, and that's why he came in.
He's very polite about it, though, at the same time. But what's really important is Roman leaves, and then a minute later, who barges into the door is Guy, still in his stage makeup, which he's never done before. And Rosemary's taken by surprise. Like, what are you doing here? This is a surprise. Aren't you supposed to be working? He's like, oh, yeah, there's a bunch of rewrites, so I figured I'd come back for lunch. Oh, hey, Hutch, how you doing? It's nice to see you.
What a surprise. But his face is blank, obviously not surprised.
Yeah, blank, but also he's got all of his makeup on still. Mm-hmm. It's very out of the ordinary. And then Hutch understands and realizes that, maybe I should leave. And as he's going, they go and get his coat out of the closet and just one of his gloves.
Guy gets his coat.
Yeah, his guy gets his coat, but then there's only one glove inside the pocket.
Yeah.
And he asks, have you seen this pocket? And why is this important? Because, as Rosemary finds out later on in the witchcraft book, in order to cast a spell on somebody, you have to have one of their possessions. Just like she finds out that the actor who went blind, Donald, has had his tie accidentally taken by Guy as well.
It was a trade.
A trade. He says it's a trade or maybe a mistake.
You can imagine that guy was like, oh, he came up with some weird, random excuse like, oh, maybe we should trade ties. It'd be a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
And then here, this is why they called Guy in. The Cassavetes called Guy at work and were like, get in here. Guy took the glove.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why they called Guy in, because nobody else could have gotten a personal item from him. It would have been weird and suspicious if Roman went inside the closet and he could have been caught. But Guy, it's very normal to grab his coat. He runs to get the coat and clearly stalls for a half a second to grab something out of the pocket, which is clearly Hutch's glove.
Another important part of Hutch's conversation with Rosemary is he examines the charm that she's wearing and says it smells like mold. It smells terrible. Mm-hmm. But obviously, Hutch is a curious but
fungus.
He's inquisitive, smart guy. And of course, that night, Hutch calls Rosemary up, asks to meet for lunch. And
while Guy is like, what was that? Who called? What's going on?
Rosemary says where and when he's going to meet her, 11 a.m. at the whatever building. And this is that sequence we talked about where Rosemary walks into traffic. And then lunch.
Oh, but real quick. So, something Guy does after the phone call. What does he, do you remember what he does?
He
goes to get ice cream.
Oh, ice cream,
He's like, oh, I'm going to go get ice cream. What do you want something? He's not going to get ice cream. He's going to go tell the Cassavetes about the phone call. And he's going to come back with ice cream as that was his that's what he was doing.
Yeah.
But he came up with a quick excuse to get out of the house to tell the Cassavetes what happened.
He's like, you're pregnant, but I'm the one with the cravings.
Yeah.
Basically like that. And so they have a lunch meeting, Rosemary and Hutch, but Hutch doesn't show up. She calls, finds out that Hutch didn't show. He's taken ill. He's in a deep coma. And then Minnie shows up at the building where she's supposed to meet.
You're outside,
Hutch.
I'm out here. It's crazy.
You're looking sicker and sicker. And they take her home. And then we have a really huge moment, and it's the New Year's Eve party. New Year's Eve party is big because it's inside the Cassavetes apartment. All these people here are there who we find out eventually are all part of the coven. And then Rosemary's sitting with Dr. Saperstein talking about how, she's still not getting better. Her stomach hurts. And she's like, I don't really feel like leaving the house anymore. And he says, you don't have to. And then as the new year happens, midnight strikes, Roman says out loud, to 1966, the year one.
Crazy.
The year one.
And
Bonkers.
obviously Rosemary doesn't notice that, but it's such a weird thing to say. And it sounds random, but they're going to be their new calendar, as the birth of the Antichrist would be year one.
It's insane. It's bananas.
It's absolutely nuts. And then there's just more stuff going on. She's eating more raw meat. She catches herself eating the organs for a turkey.
Liver, yeah.
And she just sees herself in the reflection of the toaster oven. And then she wants to throw her own party. Nobody under 60 is allowed.
It's a very special party. You have to be 60 years old to get in.
But this is, during the party, Guy is on edge because he wants to make sure nobody talks to Rosemary too much, nobody asks too many questions, and that nobody really notices what's wrong with her. And she eventually breaks down crying. But he's great. Like, there's that friend's talking to Rosemary in the kitchen and asking about the doctor, and then Guy comes in and he's like, oh, can you help me carry the stuff into the party? Basically taking the woman away from Rosemary to stop her asking questions. So there's great little moments of Guy basically shepherding Rosemary around, making sure nobody's getting too close to her.
Very important scene, though, because like we talked about earlier, the only time she's able again to open up to somebody first was Hutch, but now with her girlfriends inside the kitchen, they keep Guy out, and she's able to confess that she's been in pain since November, and they're all saying that you need a new doctor. Pain is a warning that something's going wrong. And then Rosemary, after the party, tells Guy that in the morning she's going to go to Dr. Hill. Guy fights her on it, comes up with these weird excuses until...
It's unfair to Dr. Saperstein?
What about unfair to me? And then...
But she also says she stopped taking the drinks,
Yep.
and she's been making her own drinks the last 3 days.
Until she feels the baby moving and kicking, because she's been worried that the baby's going to die. And then has this crazy, great acting from Mia Farrow where Rosemary is hysterical but also grateful at the same time.
It's the first time she's felt the baby ever.
And then great moment in the film, one of the best moments I think, is she takes Guy's hand and is like, feel it, and Guy touches it, feels the kick, and pulls his hand away like he's
afraid
terrified of
Yeah.
it because he knows what's inside Rosemary.
It's a great moment.
The look on his face is terrifying.
And he laughs it off.
Yeah. And then Rosemary gets healthy. She starts...
So, why do you think the baby came to life right now?
My guess is, it's not a normal pregnancy. It's not a human. So maybe it took a while for the seed to plant, for the embryo or whatever it is to grow finally. And my assumption is maybe this kind of baby, in terms of a demon, sucks the life out of the mother for its initial nutrients until it's ready to survive off external nutrients. I don't know. Maybe that's what that drink is. It's to help the baby grow to the point where it's not depleting the life of the mother. Because Rosemary's losing weight, she's losing energy. Clearly, the baby's sucking the life out of her until it's maybe ready to not depend on her life force.
But it was like perfect timing for right before she's going to go to Dr. Hill. Mm-hmm. For me, I think that the fight in Rosemary for the first time, letting out her frustration and screaming and fighting, jolted life into the baby.
It's possible.
That's what I think happened. Like, this is the first time she's let it all out.
Yeah.
And she's attacking Guy and going after him, and that passion and that energy like jolted the life of the baby into fruition.
It's clearly new ground for everybody.
Yeah.
Even the coven, they have not gotten this far, I'm sure. for a pregnancy, and now she gets healthy. Rosemary gets color back. She's starting to get the baby bump, and she looks pregnant. She looks healthy. She's happy. She's accepting the drinks from Minnie. She's accepting everybody new in her life. All Lara, everyone's like hanging out at her house.
Nesting.
They're all like a big family in a lot of ways. It's pretty odd until she finds out that Hutch is dead. Rosemary goes to the funeral, meets with the woman she spoke on the phone with, who's another friend of Hutch's, who gave her a book that was supposed to be a gift that Hutch would give her at that lunch meeting they never got to. On his dying bed, he said, make sure Rosemary gets this. And also, one of the last things he said is the book's name is an anagram, or the name is an anagram.
Yeah. And then she opens the book, and it's called All of Them Witches. And she learns that Tannis Root is also known as the Devil's Pepper.
Devil's Pepper fungus.
Devil's Pepper fungus. There's all sorts of weird witchcraft details about it. There's a photo of a family, and one of them has the name underlined, and it's the Adrian Marcotte.
Stephen Marcato.
No, but Adrian Marcato and his family, and then the name Stephen is underlined. Yeah. She doesn't really know what any of it means. And then anagram. She starts trying to make an anagram. She tries to solve the anagram of the book's title, All of Them Witches. She comes up with a bunch of random things.
She comes with the fall, elf shot lame witch, how is hell fact me, and then finally after she gives up, she looks at the book and the underlined name Stephen.
And then she puts together Stephen Marcato is an anagram for Roman Cassavetes. And Lord Voldemort.
I am Tom Riddle. Insane reveal. So excellent. Stephen Marcato is Roman Cassavetes. And Rosemary no longer wants anyone around. She tells Guy, I don't want them around. That something's going on. And she tells Saperstein.
And they all agree. Like, Saperstein's like, yeah, I wouldn't trust them either. Oh, yeah.
This is really interesting.
It's not like they fight her on it. I think they were like, oh, let's go along with it.
Saperstein's really clever.
Yeah.
And he accepts all the information Rosemary tells her as belief and fact, is on her side, because they all know that the best thing to do is just to keep Rosemary happy.
Yeah.
And so
they're far enough along,
exactly, where he comes up with this plan on the spot where what's going to happen, just so you know, Roman's ill. He's dying. He doesn't have more than a month to live. And next week they're going on a trip to see some of the last places he wants to before he dies. But he'd be very embarrassed if he found out, if anyone knew about this. So what's going to happen is I'm going to convince the Cassavetes to go away early on their trip. They'll go away on Sunday. And that's it. And she's like, how can you convince him to do that? Can you do that? Oh, don't worry. They'll go. They'll leave. And then the Cassavetes, they leave on a trip. And Rosemary thinks that everything's safe.
And she thinks she can trust Saperstein still.
Yeah, and she drops the charm in the sewer.
Walks in front of traffic.
Yep.
Yeah, that shot we talked about earlier.
And
then she buys more books.
Yeah, she buys more witchcraft books. She learns about the United Mental Force and how cults can blind or kill or maim people with spells. Spells require belongings.
And then she calls Donald, the actor who previously had Guy's role, and she asks, aren't you missing something? Aren't you missing an item that Guy might have? Don't you miss it? And he's like, oh, my tie? She's like, yes, your tie. He's like, oh, well, yeah, it was like a Guy and I, it was sort of like a trade we did. So then she learns Guy's in on it, and Guy took a personal item from Donald to cast the spell of blinding him. And then she discovers Saperstein's in on it too. When she goes to his office, waits in the waiting room. She's got her suitcase. And then while she's waiting, the secretary says, oh, you smell different. What is it? And she mentions the perfume she's now wearing. She's like, oh, because you used to smell like Dr. Saperstein's room. The strange smell, and you must not have noticed it. And then she connects it. He's got Tannis Root in his office, and he's used it as an excuse of it's his aftershave. Then her secretary thought.
So I have a fun fact about Donald Bumgard.
Donald Bumgard, that's the name.
Donald Bumgard, who is the actor that goes blind. So Rosemary calls him up on the phone, and they have the conversation. And Mia Farrow didn't know who was cast in this role as Donald Bumgard. And in the performance, she's kind of unsure of the voice because, as Roman Polanski planned, it's a voice she recognizes but doesn't understand who it is or why she recognizes it. Mia Farrow, literally, in the performance, you can tell. And he actually cast Tony Curtis as Donald Bumgard. And Tony Curtis was a very famous actor at the time. He's in Some Like It Hot, The Great Race, Spartacus.
Oh, my God, yeah.
Trapeze. So very famous actor who Mia Farrow knew. It plays Donald Bumgard, and she's on the phone like in her head. She said she was like, I know this voice. Who is this person? So it's actually a really interesting note about the performance.
He's hilarious in Some Like It Hot.
Yeah. So then after leaving the office, she goes to Dr. Hill's.
The payphone scene.
Oh,
which
payphone,
I love.
Yeah.
Because first she calls up Dr. Hill's secretary, leaves the message, then she's waiting, and then there's a woman who wants the phone, so she pretends to be calling, and then the office calls her back to learn more about what's going on. Okay, we'll get back to you in a second. And then Dr. Hill calls her back, and she pleads with him about plots. There are plots against people. There is a plot against my baby. Please believe me. Please see me. It's an emergency. I have to see you right now, not tomorrow, right now. And then Hill agrees reluctantly. But then, like we said earlier, there's that man who just stands with his back to her right against the payphone. And you're like, watch this movie. You're like, oh my God, who is that? Who is that? And the guy turns around. And he seems to be like a friendly passerby waiting for the phone with a cigar. And he smiles and nods to her. Just seems to be waiting. But whenever I see this scene, I'm like, oh my God, it's part of the coven. Is that guy in the coven?
Has to be. What's really interesting about this plot that Rosemary thinks is on her and about her baby, she believes that this coven, these witches, she believes that they want her baby for its blood to use as sacrifice. She doesn't realize that she's going to give birth to the son of the devil.
That her baby is not a normal baby.
It's not a normal baby at all. She goes to Dr. Hill. Dr. Hill believes everything Rosemary says. Looks at the books. According to Rosemary, it seems like he believes her.
He believes that there are crazy people out there. He doesn't believe in witchcraft or anything, but he absolutely believes that she believes it.
That's what Rosemary thinks. Yeah. That's what the audience believes. But really, I interpret Dr. Hill not as a member of the coven, but as a concerned doctor who thinks that Rosemary's gone a bit
nutty,
off her rocker, and that she needs help. And that's why she calls her husband and Dr. Saperstein, because in a sense, I think he's probably worried about her because a lot of this sounds probably crazy to him, as it would most people.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe some people might think that he's a part of it. I don't think he is.
Oh, he's not a part of it, and you can tell from the actor's performance when they're leaving. He's looking at Rosemary like she's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's an instance of another man controlling her, not letting her make her own decisions. And it's not just that he doesn't believe her, but he's like, I'm gonna choose what's best for you rather than you choosing what's best for you.
And Saperstein,
it's my favorite frame of the movie. It's here when she wakes up in the cot and she's busted basically, and Hill lets in Saperstein and Guy. This is the best frame of the movie. We get Rosemary in the left of the frame in darkness, and then Saperstein comes right up to the frame where his pants are on the right edge of the frame. He's that close to her, and then in between these two images is Guy. And he's looking down at the far wall. He's so ashamed of himself, he can't even look at her. And that's where the dialogue plays. There's no other shot. That's the shot. It's just so incredible.
And Saperstein threatens her with a mental institution if she doesn't come with them. She tries to escape once they get back to the apartment. She successfully does for a few moments. She gets into the apartment by herself. But then they get in and they give her a sedative.
I love when the people walk quietly behind her. When she's on the phone, she turns around, people tiptoe past the hallway.
And then Rosemary, as she's sedated, goes into labor. Oh, it looks like we're in labor right now.
But what's cool is there's 20 people. They're like, oh, we're your friends, Rosemary. It's like the whole fucking coven's here now.
Yeah. And I love how Polanski doesn't show the birth. Rosemary just wakes up and there's no baby. And then Saperstein and Guy come in and they tell her. Obviously, they're lying. Saperstein's chewing food. He's so nonchalant about this. Yeah. If this really was a death, they'd be sitting by her side.
They just came from the party.
Yeah, they just came from a party. And they say there are complications, it's dead. And Rosemary doesn't believe them. And there's this beautiful split diopter of Guy and Rosemary in the same shot for about a minute and a half. I love that shot so much. And Guy's career is booming.
Also, the Weather Channel. We get multiple reports.
It's always hot.
Multiple reports. It's hotter than usual. New York City is going to have a much hotter season, and the future is going to be hot.
Yeah.
Multiple instances of the news.
95 degrees, 95.
Anyone coming to New York City, prepare yourself for the heat, an unusual heat.
And Guy's career is booming. He says movie studios are recruiting him for movies. Paramount, Universal, they're all calling him back. His career is bigger than ever. And she asks...
But it's in the same sentence of the baby's death.
Yeah.
He's like, so yeah, this sucks, but it's between Paramount and Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And then she's like, let me see your shoulder, your left shoulder. He shows her both shoulders.
Because he started wearing pajamas because the coven marked him somewhere.
Yeah.
But clearly it's not the shoulders.
Yeah.
Also, she's being taken care of by the nurses, not the nurses, but the coven woman.
Laura.
They've been taking her breast milk, and at one point she asks, "What do you do with the breast milk?" And she goes, "Oh, just trash it. We just throw it away." And then she places a spoon in it, and she goes, "Whoa, don't do that. Why? Oh, it's just makes a mess is all."
Yeah. It's important because before that she starts hearing baby crying.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yes.
There's a baby crying, and she's starting to put things together.
Stops taking her meds. And then they pass it off of, oh, there's new neighbors upstairs. Do they have a baby? Oh, yeah. How did you know that?
Could hear her crying. Then we have one of the most incredible 12-minute ending of a movie ever.
When I think of 12-minute endings.
One of the most incredible third acts ever. Rosemary, she's starting to put these clues together. She doesn't believe anyone. She thinks her baby's around somewhere. And she's a mother. She loves her child even though she hasn't met it yet. Sneaks through the closet of the Cassavetes, realizes she can get through, grabs a knife, goes through their room. We see that burning church portrait immediately when she walks in. A couple other odd portraits. And then she finds out she was right. She walks into this room. Dozens of people are in there, all in happy moods, mingling, eating food, drinking. And there's that large, black-cloaked crib at the end of the room, at the edge of the window, with an upside-down crucifix hanging above it.
Now, oh my God, I just connected it. So remember I mentioned earlier the flamed painting correlated to the fire inside the temple bedroom?
Yeah.
It was the same thing. It's just when she was in her drugged up state, when she was carried past that painting, she saw it as alive.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's a good point.
Isn't that crazy?
That's a great point.
Oh my! And so they
went through the closet with
and
her.
they probably set up the bed in the living room.
Yeah.
Straight ahead.
Yeah, that living room, that fireplace at the end of the hall, yeah.
Yes,
end of the room for
absolutely.
sure. And this is a crazy scene because what's so, I think, brilliant about this ending is the nuances. I feel like if, especially a contemporary version or a lot of filmmakers might have made it more aggressive and violent. Maybe Rosemary goes around slashing, stabbing,
Attacking,
who knows?
yeah.
But it's so subtle and she's so immobile by what's happening that she can't believe anything. And it's more of the nuances of it are what make it so shocking, and the situation itself is what makes it so ludicrous.
I think that
you don't need that showiness.
They shot it like it's a comedy, and the tone is like tongue-in-cheek humor of the reaction's so extreme. Minnie is so like, whatever, sit down.
Have some Lipton tea.
Yeah, everyone's so cringily nonchalant. They made it like it was like in the style of a comedy.
Like, no big deal.
It's not like super dramatic. It's not, like you said, violent. Crazy stuff doesn't happen. It's not like super dark lighting. It's all just bright, and it's a party, and everyone's chill. And there's that guy taking photos, and everyone's just like having a good time. And that's what really makes this scene so special. It could have been every other director would have made it in a certain way, made it gritty and dark and serious and very somber. But this is like, the filmmaking is absurdist and the acting is absurdist, that it matches what's happening really well.
And what happens next is so powerful in the most horrific way, where Laura's rocking the crib way too fast and the baby starts crying. And clearly, Rosemary's upset. She wants to rock the baby, even though...
But this is after it's revealed by Roman. Satan is his father. He has his... She looks at the eyes. What have you done to his eyes?
She walks up to the crib. Yeah, she walks up to the crib, sees the eyes. She's expecting to see a normal human baby, sees the evil eyes. He has... What have you done to his eyes? He has his father's eyes. She looks to Guy. I love the camera pan, the quick camera pan to Guy, who's like barely paying attention. He can't look over there. Guy's eyes are normal. He has... His father is Satan.
He has his father's eyes.
Satan is his father. Hail Satan, hail Adrian, hail Satan. He chose you. God is dead. The year is won.
Yeah, and she's like in disbelief. But I like how like everybody's like lets her react. Nobody like tries to hold her back. She doesn't try to fight everyone. She's just so shocked, and she ends up like sitting down from the shock. And then the rocking happens.
So Laura's rocking aggressively. The baby starts crying. And even though this monster is her baby, she still wants to be a mother to it.
Roman is so good in this moment, the actor. He goes to her. He goes, you know, Minnie and Laura, they're too old to be a mother. It's not right. The baby needs his mother. Be a mother to him. And she says something.
She says, "You're trying to get me to be his mother, aren't you? Aren't you his mother?
Aren't you his mother?" And then she's like, slowly approaches it, and then he orders Laura to go away. And in terms of the comedy, the cringiness, Laura sticks her tongue out at Rosemary, like, ugh. There's that tongue-in-cheek humor in the scene that no other filmmaker would have put that in. You know what I mean?
Just be a mother to your baby.
And so then she starts carefully rocking it, and the child calms down. And then we get the lullaby. The lullaby starts playing. Rosemary seems very happy. And then we pull back.
Not very happy, but like content.
She seems
she's
content.
a mother. Because Rosemary wants to be a mother more than anything.
Yeah.
And she has that. It's not a smile, but it's not a frown.
Yes.
And it's optimism that, you know what, maybe I can do this.
Yeah.
And Guy is horrible in this scene because he says that terrible thing. Obviously, he's like, listen, they told me and assured me you wouldn't be hurt, and you're not hurt. Not really. Not giving a crap about her. Clearly, her feelings or emotions, because of what she's gone through, he's basically looking at her physically. Like, there's no physical injury to you. You're not hurt at all. And she spits in his face because he compares it. It's like, imagine if we lost a baby. It's the same thing. No big deal, really. Look at what it's brought us, my career and our fame and fortune.
We're going to be living in the hills of Beverly with a pool.
Yeah, I'll give you everything you ever wanted. And she spits in his face.
Great moment.
But I think that's why this ending is so powerful, is because it's not overdone, and the subtlety and the nuances of it, because the situation itself is so powerful and absurd. That's all you really need. And I think Polanski understood that.
Yeah, and I think she agrees to be the mother because it's not... I think the simple way of looking at it is, oh, she's a mom. She just wants to be a mom. I think it's a little deeper than that. I think that she's finally making her own decision for once. This is her choice. She's not being forced to do it. She's not being gaslit to do this. Roman presented her with an option, and being a mother to the baby is her first time actually making a decision about herself in a very long time. So I look at it not just like, oh, she just wants to be a mom. She also wants to finally take control back in her life.
What's shocking about Rosemary's Baby is Mia Farrow did not get an Oscar nomination for this performance.
It's crazy.
It's got to be one of the biggest snubs in history. It absolutely is. Because she's so terrific in this movie. And she's perfect for the role. But my goodness.
She's really fantastic in the movie.
It's surprising she didn't win an Oscar, let alone not being nominated.
Yeah.
It's an absolute snub.
Ruth Gordon obviously deserved it, but I after watching it again last night, I was like, how did Mia Farrow get no real recognition from this role?
Yeah. I mean, she got BAFTA nomination, a couple of nominations here and there, Golden Globe nomination, but not winning an Oscar, not getting nominated. It's a damn shame.
It's tough in horror, still. It's tough in the horror genre. But she's fantastic in the movie. Obviously, it's an all-timer. And it's one of my favorite horror films. It's, I think, the top 5 horror films of all time still. And I think it's untouchable. I don't think it should be touched, even though it has multiple times and right now, currently. But I think that it's really a one-of-a-kind film. And it really comes down to all of the pieces of this puzzle coming into place in 1966 and just crafting this for an incredible movie.
Yeah, the thing with the prequel that just got released is I look at it as just, obviously it's a cash grab, it's an IP grab, which has so many pros and cons. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But it just looks like, when I watched the trailer, it looks like they threw a couple horror movie classics together. They put together Rosemary's Baby, and they put together Suspiria, and said, hey, let's make a movie about
with
this.
the dancing.
The dancing, it doesn't really make it, why? You know, and that's not what Terry was like. Because they're obviously not being authentic to Terry.
Who was homeless and a drug
addict. Maybe that's in the show or the movie, I don't know. But when I watched the trailer, I didn't see any of that in the trailer. She just gets hurt and needs help.
I think they just put the guy character on her.
Yeah.
So the thing is, from the trailer, it seemed like they put Rosemary and Guy into one character, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah. But again, I think they just put, all right, let's make Suspiria and Rosemary's Baby into the same thing and turn this into a new movie. But it is what it is. Like I said, there's nothing we can do about it. Everyone's going to keep making remakes, prequels, sequels.
But we all know there's really just one.
There's only one Rosemary's Baby. and it's one of the best horror movies of all time, arguably one of the best movies ever made. It was one of Stanley Kubrick's favorite films, according to his sister and brother-in-law and assistant Jan Harlan. But it is an absolute classic. I still remember the first time I saw this movie. I watched it and I was like, "Is that my favorite movie of all time?"
It's great.
It's that good.
Yeah.
And it's in my top 20, top 25 for sure. It's sensational. There's nothing quite like it, really. Even though there's been so many copies in trying people, and obviously it's influenced
The template has been
the
used
genre
a lot.
for so much. But this is a great film. It was so ahead of its time in 1968. Sensational, great horror. And Polanski directed his ass off in this movie.
Yeah, it's a all-timer, especially really breaking new ground in filmmaking, and especially for Hollywood. Things like this had never been done, so it's a special film. Really great.
All right, that wraps our episode on Rosemary's Baby. It's not even spooky season yet, but we felt like getting a little horror going, and we just love this film. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Stay tuned for our interview with Todd Phillips, which I think might have posted last week. Or
Tomorrow, I think.
tomorrow on Thursday, possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Thursday. And we'll be doing Joker and Joker Part 2, or Joker 2, in the next couple weeks. Lots of stuff coming.
We're cooking.
Stay tuned for spooky season. We're going to decorate the set and everything, but take care, everybody.
See you next time.